Welcome to 5 for 5, the podcast where you get to hear the stories of the players, coaches, and people who made history at Arkansas State with 5 head coaches in 5 years. We won championships, set records, and took the Red Wolves to a new level. We proved there's more than one way to win. The only thing that stayed the same was Adidas, Ron Carroll, and the 10 stubborn men who refused to leave. Join us as we look behind the scenes and explore this football journey. Now, here's your host, Kenny Rainmaker Rain.
All right, so we are live in the man cave for the first in-person interview for 5 for 5, and we've got 3, including myself, of the 10 stubborn men that went 5 for 5. So we have Tyler Greve, and we have Alan Wright, and then myself, Kenny Rainmaker Rain. So, guys, number one, Greve, you came all the way from South Korea for this.
I did, just for this.
Yeah. Yeah, so the podcast paid for your plane ticket. And
Yeah.
No, we didn't. We still don't even have enough to afford a Jamie, but anyway, we're here to have fun. So, yeah, all the way from South Korea.
From South Korea. It's been an interesting life post-football.
Yeah. So we'll definitely have to get to that. I mean, you're looking like A.J. Hawk now. You've definitely lost a lot of weight since football. Me and Alan are like pretty much the same. Yeah. Except my 265 has turned into a dad bod now. So like the muscles just kind of slowly disappear to be replaced by fat. But so I guess the way we typically go is we just start out with life before ASU. So do either of you guys want to start out with that?
Yeah, so before life at ASU, I'm from Cave City, Arkansas. It's about 20 miles north of where Kenny's at right now. But grew up there. It's a small town, rural town. Loved playing football. Didn't really have a whole lot of offers coming out of high school. Had ASU and UCA. That was really my main two that I was deciding between. I went to ASU because they were the bigger school, and I just wanted to try that out. And it turned out pretty well.
Hell yeah. Greve, what about you, man?
I had a pretty normal life. I'm from Jonesboro, actually. And then my senior year, I moved to Jonesboro High School. And that's when I got my offer from ASU. And kind of an interesting story about my offer. I remember Coach Gunn called me, and I was actually eating at a Chinese buffet with Brad Sheeran.
Yeah.
And a couple other friends. Brad played with us. He's also maybe biggest freak I've ever met.
Yeah, he's
physically.
a stud.
But we were eating at this Chinese restaurant. And I remember Coach Gunn called me because it was kind of in the middle of the recruiting process. And he was like, hey, what positions do you play? And I knew this was my opportunity. And I was like, I had only played left tackle in high school. And I was like, I play all 5. He goes, wait, you play center? I go, yes, sir. I do.
Did you ever snap the ball?
I never snapped the ball. And I was friends with his daughter, Bethany. And I remember, it was years later because I didn't want to tell him myself. But I was like, I just want you to know that your dad was the man because he offered kind of blindly, gave me an offer after I told him I played center. And so I will forever be indebted to that man. Thank you, Coach Gunn, if you're listening. I'd never played center before.
Yeah, I think the Coach Gunn, was he one of the main guys?
He was the main recruiter.
So he was recruiting Arkansas back then, going to 2010. So same here. I was recruited by Coach Gunn and Coach Harris. Coach Harris used to write me a letter every day, even after I committed. I was one of the first ones to commit in our class. I got an offer the summer before I went to a camp and got an offer in person there. But, yeah, Coach Harris, I still have some letters saved. I mean, like, there was one that he and I still have this one. I should show it sometime. But he drew a championship ring, and he's like, you're going to get a few of these if you come to Arkansas State. It ended up true. I mean, Coach Harris was an awesome coach, and Coach Gunn was too. So that's how you guys got offered. You picked ASU. Definitely different from like D-Wade, who had like 17 different offers. Everybody's got a different story how we end up, but we all ended up there one way or another. So we all get there in 2010. All 3 of us redshirt. Anybody that went 5 for 5 redshirted. Mm-hmm. And so one of my favorite questions to ask is, what was your welcome to college football moment?
Oh, I've thought about this a lot, and I remember it very. It was crappy, but I remember we were running. I think it was probably third team. I think I was on the third team my freshman year. Now,
yeah, because you traveled.
I traveled, And I was kind of like Stockmer when he was talking about his. I was kind of coddled too because I didn't have to do all the crap that y'all had to do.
Yeah, we did.
But I traveled, and it was the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. But I traveled, and now if I was the third center, but I mean, if Tom and Eric go down, I'm not going in. Hopefully.
Yeah. You're saying you like rolled your ankle in warm ups, you're coming up with something.
I mean, no, I just don't think Hiller. I think Hiller knew.
Yeah.
Well, I love that man, by the way.
Yeah,
Darren Hiller,
awesome.
you're the man.
Yeah.
But I remember my welcome to college football moment was, well, there's a couple. I would say first, I remember spring conditioning. We got there early. Would we get there in June or July? Something like that.
Me and Alan got there in July, I believe, because this was kind of starting to become the point when it was regular that you had to be there in June and July.
Early. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you ended up taking classes that summer, I believe.
I did
not.
Yeah.
But I remember when Alan was there because I remember this was one of my first moments. We were conditioning with RC, which was terrible, and I just remember looking at Alan and being like, "Why are we here? This is absolutely miserable." We were practicing on the outside field.
Yeah.
And we'd already had turf, but we were practicing on the outside field by that pond, and it was so hot and humid on that field every day. And
they would water it right before practice. It felt like it would be so sticky.
The grass was so tall, too.
The grass was tall. We were slow. It was humid. It was hot. The pavement's right beside it from the parking lot. Mm-hmm. There's no shade because they ended up building that tower in the middle, but I don't think that tower was there.
No,
or at least it wasn't as tall.
Yeah.
Because they had I think they filmed, but it was nowhere. It was not a shade source.
No, it was, and you remember whenever we would actually go to the field, how freaking hot it would be. It was like your cleats were going to melt to the turf. It was so hot. And RC used to make us like run a mile for warm-ups. Like every position group had to run a mile. I remember at one point there was almost like a riot against running the mile warm-up. And if I'm correct, DeMario was a big part of like trying to figure out how to get us to not have to run the mile warm. Everybody hated it.
Yeah.
Like it was.
We had to run like 4 or 5 laps around the football field.
Yeah, it really sucked.
The whole field.
Yeah. Yeah. And anyway, I know for you guys though, especially Alan running scout team, you had to go against Brian Hall.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
I
got broke in right.
Like Stockenberg said, I didn't have to have that experience. So it was great. But that was my first experience of welcome to college football was I was remember talking down, I was like, why are we here? Mm-hmm. Why are we doing this? This sucks.
Yeah.
And then my second one was, I think we were running third team or scout team or something in the spring or in fall camp. And it was inside zone to the right. I think we had like a 3 technique on the right guard. So I was kind of working my way up to the second level.
Yeah.
And I remember just Nigel Bird just hits me in my chest. And I fall on my back.
Yeah. Nigel Bird was really big, but he was super fast.
Yes, he was compact.
Fast. Yeah.
And he destroyed me.
Yeah.
And I just remember falling on my back. Not even my butt. I fell on my back. And that sucked, watching it in film the next day. Hiller, thank you. We're watching it. He sees it. He goes to the next play. And it's like, that guy. I got that guy's back forever.
Yeah. So mine, I don't think I've told it yet, but it was, we were doing one-on-ones. It's real early in fall camp. And I'm going against Javon McKinnon, if y'all remember him. He's a senior. Yep. So I'm going against Javon. And this is like my first ever one-on-one, which even when I got there, I was pretty big. I mean, like I came in at like 255, 260. But I pancaked Javon McKinnon first play. And I'm like, dang, dude, college football is going to be easy. And then Javon McKinnon, like what happened was, he tripped. He got crisscrossed, and I hit him right when he's crisscrossed, so I pancake him. And he stands up. He's like, hell no, coach, run that back. And I'm like, no, I won. Like, we're good. We're good, bro. And he just came in and completely destroyed me the next play. And from that point on, he kind of like had a little something for me to just remind me that, like, no, dude, you're a true freshman. You suck. I'm good. And, that was mine.
I forgot about this, but do you remember Derek Johnson, the guy that came from Texas?
I do.
It's one-on-ones fall camp, and I'm pass blocking as a center. Never done it in my life.
Yeah,
never played center. And I remember pass blocking against him. He's playing like a 0, so it's terrible because I mean he can go anywhere and come through me.
Yeah, that's the worst for centers.
Yeah, it was awful. And I pancake him.
Yeah,
on a one-on-one pass rush. I'm like, man, I'm not bad. And then he does this thing where he looks up at the sky and like brings his finger up and like summons Zeus. And I just remember being like, oh, they're going to run it back. No, I won. And they run it back. He kills me.
Yeah.
And that was the end of me feeling any kind of confidence that year.
Yeah, that first year, man, that is brutal. It's a brutal blow on your confidence because everybody that shows up in D1, you were the dude from wherever you were coming from, or else you didn't go D1.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get there and you're just like, you realize that you're 18 going against grown 22 and 23-year-olds. And you just realize how inferior you're, for the most part. There are a few guys, like we were talking about Bryce Giddens just on the porch before this. Yeah. There are maybe 2 to 3 guys in each freshman class that come in and are grown men when they get there at 18.
Yeah.
But that's really rare, and especially at ASU. And that may be more common at a bigger school like Alabama. But typically, everybody redshirts. Like 90% of the group will redshirt at a school like ASU.
I think everybody in our grade did except
RJ
and RJ.
And Brian Davis. There's
And
also Bobby
Zallen.
Zallen, which he left. He went to San Jose State, I think.
No, he went to Cal Poly.
Cal Poly, okay. Yeah. Yeah, he was a freak athlete, dude. Like
Bobby?
Bobby. If Bobby would have been like 6 inches taller, he could have played any position
Yeah,
he
he'd been
wanted.
playing linebacker. Do you remember when he tackled the guy at Indiana on the kickoff?
No.
Laid him out on the sideline. Like this little guy wearing 88 or 89, whatever number it was. Some kicker number.
He stole my numbers. He was 88.
Yeah.
So I wanted 88. That's what I was in high school. They gave it to Bobby
kicker.
Zallen. Yeah. So then I get 87, which I've just rolled with that ever since.
Yeah,
But.
and he murdered this guy on the sideline.
So going through freshman year, you know, you're pretty severely abused if you're on scout team. You kind of get coddled because you're third string getting to travel, but you're not expected to do anything. No. It's an interesting spot because I think that's I was like that the next year, and that's a tough place to be because you're not really getting any reps, like any
you're not getting any
practice. No, you're not.
I did get a lot of info though.
Yes,
so that was good. I learned a lot about the game.
You definitely are growing mentally, but I mean that is one thing I think is really good about running scout team is, dude, you are being built in the fire.
Yeah,
when you're running scout team because you're going against the best guys on the team. So yeah, I actually remember one week. When we played Navy, they moved me to tackle because I was like the size of the Navy's offensive linemen because they're all like 250, 260.
I remember that. I had to do fall scout team that week.
Dude, that brutal. Oh, man. I had to go against DeMario every play. And
dude, we're running the veer.
Yeah.
I remember I went to
old school.
It wasn't Carroll because he wouldn't do it. But I was just like, hey, I need like my whole arm taped.
So you just go in there
and doing all this crap. And Carroll got so mad, but that was a brutal week.
Yeah. That week sucked. That was awful. So then, you know, we lose. And the three of us, I remember that true freshman year, like we had this thought in our head that we had to be at like the 45-yard line in this specific spot or we would lose. And so that's what the whole season depended on, which obviously we sucked at doing our job.
It was us.
Because we went 4-8 and we deviated too much from the spot where the energy flowed. And so we were the ones that cost Coach Roberts his job.
Yeah. But we were there when we played Middle Tennessee that year.
Yeah. So the main game, you know, which obviously none of us played our true freshman year, but the main one that sticks out in my head was the West Kentucky game because they were not good. They had lost every game going into that. And it was like the last play and the deep snap goes. All we have to do is just punt it.
Hits Justin Roberts in the
head and bounces like 30 yards behind Neely. And
we were in control of that game, weren't we, at that point?
It was a close game, but like seriously, all we have to do is punt it. Defense has played pretty good the whole game, and we win. But that's not what happened. We lose that game, and it didn't go good the rest of the season. So then Coach Roberts comes in. He's out. Coach Freeze, they just promote him from offensive coordinator to head coach. And then it's a totally different year that year.
New culture.
Like, even though most of the coaches, especially on offense, were the same, it's totally new culture. And that's one of the things I think is really interesting to go back. And it's really, like, what are some of the life lessons that we learned from these coaches? And for me, at least, Coach Freeze was one of the first, like, Christian leaders that I had ever been around, worked for, played underneath. Like, we listened to K-Love every practice, which was significantly different than the rest of our time there.
Yeah.
And I remember that year, there was this whole, like, Coach Freeze would teach a Bible story, like, every week. And there was this who will be the two, talking about Joshua and Caleb. And in my mind, the two were Tom Castle on offense, who looks just like Tim Tebow, and then Damari Davis on defense were certainly like the core leaders
Captains,
on that team. Yeah. I'm not sure who else was a team captain that year, but those two are the ones that stick out in my mind. And real good guys, too, not just good football players. But Tom was a freak.
He was a freak, and he was a leader.
He was.
Good dude.
Yeah, he kind of mentored all three of us in a way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely, man. I used to, when him and Erica moved and left the village, he gave me like all his stuff. And I was so excited because I had like nothing. I was just like in an empty apartment and I took all his stuff.
Is that where you got the ping pong table?
No. So I had a ping pong ball table in my second bedroom in my dorm. I had a sweet hookup the whole time I was at ASU.
You did.
Yeah, me and you actually roomed together the first semester.
He did. Then he almost died on me.
Then almost died. Yeah, ulcerative colitis got super bad. Lost like 20 pounds in 2 weeks. I'm in the hospital for about a week right after season's over. And then my mom goes in there and just raises Cain and manages to get me. I had been trying to lobby to get into an apartment where I could cook for about a month and a half. And my mom walks in there, and in 20 minutes, she calls me and says, "Okay, they said you can have anywhere on campus." My mom's crazy. She's awesome. So anyway, I get to go into the village. So I've got a 2-bedroom apartment with a full kitchen.
Yeah, you didn't even go to like CP. You went straight to the village.
I went straight to the village, yeah. The whole time I was there.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and eventually Coach Harson got like an NCAA waiver passed where I got like $4,000 a year just for food. It's pretty sick. Shout out to Coach Harson.
So you're saying you were getting paid before it was okay to be paid?
I was getting paid before it was cool. Yeah, we got this NIL thing. How much money do you think we would have made off the NIL?
I literally might have received like a food voucher.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, we were not the guys who would have made a bunch of money off this.
I wasn't bringing in money. I wasn't going to bring in money. I was there, though.
No. But Ryan Applin, though, he'd have killed it.
Yeah, he'd at least got like a Fat City gig or something.
Yeah, he'd at least got a gift card for like $100 to get some wings or something for sure. Yeah, and that was another really interesting thing that happened while we were at ASU is we got to see, like, remember when we first got there, if you went to like the mall, there was more University of Arkansas stuff than there was A-State stuff.
Yeah, you could not buy. I remember growing up in Jonesboro, you couldn't buy Arkansas State stuff.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
No.
You had to go to like the design shop, which was like the Arkansas State specific clothing shop. And that was it. Yeah,
so we were there really for like the building of Arkansas State Red Wolves as a big time brand.
Mm-hmm.
And that really kind of took over Jonesboro and eventually spread to the state. I've been traveling for work now, and this is several years after football, and I'll have guys come up to me in California. Like I'll have like my Red Wolf GoDaddy backpack because we have an entire luggage set of GoDaddy stuff because we got one suitcase every year, but we went there 4 years in a row, so we got the whole set. Mm-hmm. So somebody will like see that Arkansas State logo and go, "Dude, you're Red Wolves? Hell yeah, bro."
I had that happen in South Korea, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a
worldwide
some guy on the Army. I work at a military base, and he was like, "Oh, you went to Arkansas State?" I was like, "He's like, go Red Wolves." I was like, "Oh, where are you from?" He was from Russellville, Arkansas. But
nice dude.
Yeah, we're recognized now.
We are. It's literally a worldwide brand. Mm-hmm. It's come a long way. I mean, even if you go look at the school now, just from a facility standpoint, I mean, it's like a little SEC school now. It's crazy. Have you been there since they finished like the new football facility and everything?
Yes, I went.
Yeah, they have like Friday Fountain Day where they all get in like that really nice waterfall.
The football players now?
Yeah, they have a freaking waterfall. That's
cool.
Yeah,
we had to run up the little hills on the side.
Yeah, we had back in my day. Those were hills.
Yeah, on our legs. That was terrible.
Yeah, those sucked.
Yeah, the hills in the corners of the end zone.
They're steep, dude.
Terrible.
I got a video on YouTube actually of when it snowed. Justin Lovell.
I remember.
Justin Lovell. It's called Lovell Gets Launched. It's horrible video quality, but it's so funny. Justin Lovell takes a blocking dummy, goes up one of those hills, and there's about a 6-foot drop from these hills. There's a brick wall.
And pure ice, wasn't it?
It was a sheet of ice on the bottom. This is this is his problem. This ended Justin Lovell's football career. By the way, legitimately ended this man's career. So he takes the blocking pad, he goes down the hill, and then the pad hits the brick wall. So the pad stays, and Justin Lovell gets launched, and he lands shoulder first into this sheet of ice, and he like blew out his labrum.
I mean,
he broke his collarbone. Oh, we thought he was dead, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there filming. I'm a horrible person. Oh, like a cackling 12-year-old girl. I mean, just couldn't control myself, almost weeping when I'm watching this. Yeah, so Lovell gets launched. It's pretty hilarious. Yeah, so then,
it's got to have at least like 65 views on YouTube, right?
Solid 65 views. Yeah, not many. But so anyway, then like the Freeze year was certainly a big culture change, not really as big for any of us. And I think it's one of those deals too that, at least for me, my experience was like the more you start to play, the better you get treated. So none of us really played. Not that, I mean, Coach Freeze and all those guys were great, but we just really didn't contribute much.
We really weren't needed.
Season. I mean, that's a pretty harsh way to say it.
I was not needed. I had Tom, a 6-year senior, in front of me, and then Eric Allen in front of me too.
Yeah.
So I was.
Dude, he's so funny. Eric Allen's one of the funniest.
He stands out to me. You were talking about characters.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of characters in the offensive lineman room. Most of us are pretty chill.
Y'all's true freshman year there was, dude.
Yes, Alfred.
Oh, man.
Remember Alfred?
Derek Newton.
Derek Newton. He was pretty quiet, but I just respected him so much.
Yeah. I do have one story from our true freshman year, and I think it's the most angry I've ever seen you, Alan. You remember they had this deal. So whenever you go to take a shower, number one, I don't think many of us were used to taking a shower with a bunch of grown men, like a prison-style shower where there's like 20 showers. It's all in the open.
But it's in one
It's
small
a 20 by 30 room.
Highway. Or hallway.
Small hallway. So you have to walk by people to leave. And so this little tradition that started our true freshman years is the guys would take a handful of soap and they would just smack you.
As you're walking out.
As you're walking out. And they'd be like, get back in the shower! And there was other words with it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So Brian Hall slapped you in the face with soap. And you were so mad. But you knew it was Brian Hall, so you couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, it would have done no good. And how are you going to find somebody naked?
But was that the
man with abs?
Yeah,
and he's 330
well,
pounds.
He had like a keg abs though.
But it was abs.
But it was abs. It's solid.
There was
for
no
sure.
fat there. It was just gut.
No, it was. I don't know what that thing was, but it was certainly the source of his power.
I remember this. And do you remember freshman year, Brian Hall comes out to practice in his snorkel gear?
Yeah,
because he was like, "Oh, we're going swimming today, boys," and we did not go swimming that day.
No.
We did restart practice that day.
Yeah.
And then come back again later and do it again.
I have that in the book, but I have it the next year when Cow Tie comes out and does the same thing, and it worked.
Really?
And we went swimming.
Yep.
Yes, dude. Because that year, Josh Jarbo races Tim Starsh in the pool and like blows his shoulder out in the pool, if you remember that.
I don't.
And his shoulder was like screwed up the rest of his career.
Yeah, I remember his shoulder
after that. Yeah. So lots of funny stuff happened. Coach Freeze's year was certainly a more fun year to be a part of.
So fun.
It was lots of fun, man. I mean, Coach Freeze was definitely like a family guy. It's fun. You work hard, but you play hard. And so then, though, we go 10-2. Coach Freeze gets the offer from Ole Miss, which is a Mississippi guy. So that's like going home for him. And I remember, he comes in after the season's over, and he's teary-eyed, and he's like holding a towel, and he's like, guys, I got my dream offer. I'm going to go back to Ole Miss. I love you guys. And, we're all like torn up. We're crying. And of course, at this point, like, we don't know that this is just going to be a thing. Like, this is going to happen every year. So then Coach Freeze takes everyone with him. So we play the bowl game against NIU. Doesn't go well. Taylor Stockmer has like a career game though. Goes off. We ended up with almost like no receivers healthy except for Stock though. So Appleton didn't have many places to go. We were getting pretty decimated with injuries by the end of that year, which would kind of be a common theme for us at ASU. The thing I like to tell people, like the difference between ASU and a bigger school is when you look at like just the starters, it's fairly even. You know, when you look, especially that freeze year, I mean,
we could compete.
Dude, we had like 6 NFL players on that defense. Yeah. But we could compete with just about anybody until you got to the second or third string.
Yeah.
And then it's a sharp drop off.
That's where I dwell.
After that. Yeah, that's where we dwelt the freeze year. So, yeah. But we get better as time goes on, which most people do. I mean, some people don't really get much better, but most tend to. I mean, you're in a system where they're training you for that. I mean, when you're doing something 8 hours a day, every day, you're more than likely going to get better at it. So then we get Coach Malzahn, which I think all of us were like shocked because that was a big name even back then. You know, he had just won a national championship with Cam Newton, who we actually played in 2010. So Coach Malzahn comes in, and I remember the first time he walked in the room, that was a different, like it changed like that. I mean, it was completely different.
Straight up. And
I mean, he walks in the room and don't breathe, you know, shoulders back. Eye contact.
Unbroken.
Yeah.
And do not make a sound.
No.
We didn't all year.
No.
At least I didn't.
So.
Couldn't risk it.
So then we go through Malzahn's year, and we go through spring ball, which was significantly harder. I think
I had a great spring that year.
Yeah, I had a pretty good one. I mean, I worked my way up all the way to like starting position, and then just crapped the bed the next year in fall camp, but ended up working my way back to start at Oregon somehow. So that was my first start, which it didn't go well for me at all that day, which I don't think it really went well for anybody that day. That was just a brutal day to be a Red Wolf.
And were we down 47-0?
I think it was 42-7 because Julian Jones got completely let loose on a play. You know, Malzahn was real good about.
That was in the second half on slip.
No, it was one of the plays where got him to jump off sides. And it's just a free ball.
Oh,
and the dude didn't cover Julian Jones.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Julian Jones at one point had like almost 40 yards per reception. I mean, he was just like
had
the
like
bomb
10 catches for like 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was stupid. I mean, he was just bombs all day.
It'd be like the orbit motion post to Julian.
Yeah.
Every game.
Yeah.
And it worked.
It worked. I mean, that offense, that was maybe the best offense, at least, that we had while we were at A-State was Malzahn's year. I think the best defense was probably under Coach Freeze's year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, anyway, we end up just going ham on everybody. After the loss to Western Kentucky, we win. I mean, we just took off. But that was, I remember at one point I called Coach Harris because I was like, man, this is different. It's not like a family anymore. I really hated it at first. You know, and he just told me some wisdom that I still remember this day, that there's more than one way to skin a cat. That's what he said. And it basically just meaning that, you know, I know it's not the way that we did it, but it does work and you will get used to it. And we did. Adapted fairly well, but it was just a completely different culture than what it was under Coach Freeze's year. But both times we win 10 games. So, yeah, do y'all have anything that sticks out in your mind from that Malzahn year? Alan, you got a lot of playing time that year.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, Cliff Mitchell ended up getting hurt. I was second string that year.
Malzahn said you were the best pulling guard in the country.
On Buck Sweep.
Buck Sweep, yeah. 69, you are the best pulling guard in the country.
It wasn't Allen or Wright. It was 69.
It's 69.
Right.
Yeah. How'd that make you feel?
I didn't know what to think. I didn't know if he was kidding around or if he was being serious. But
you were those offensive meetings. Malzahn would have the big whiteboard, and he would go over every play, and it almost always started out 45-yard line right hash. What play am I thinking?
Glendo.
Wildcat RP. Yeah, and then so one time, Kevin Glendo is our backup center, and was he playing center?
No, he was back tackle.
Backup tackle. Okay, so Glendo's playing backup tackle, and Malzahn asks him, it's like cover 2. What receiver is 16 supposed to throw the ball to? And, you know, of course, Glendo didn't know. Like, I barely knew.
We didn't discuss these things in our meetings.
No. And you shouldn't. It doesn't matter for the offensive line. You're just doing protections. But he expected everybody to know everything. And so he calls Glendo out. And that was also fairly common. Like, you really had to, the whole meeting, you're like on your game because Coach Malzahn can call on you. And I do think that really brainwashes you in a way that does help you play better, because I remember Coach Malzahn's year, like, when you got out on the field, you didn't have to think at all.
You knew everything.
Like, you just saw, especially like playing skill position, you just saw the hand signals, and it was crazy. There was no thoughts. You just knew. And you looked at the defense, and you knew what you had to do. And he was really good at teaching and almost kind of brainwashing you to get you to the point where you didn't have to think, which allows you to play super fast on offense, which then forces the defense into mistakes, and you get these huge plays, and the offense works really, really well, which is why Gus Malzahn's one of the best offensive head coaches in the country. So anyway, so then we get done with that season. We go to the bowl game, which I didn't even travel the bowl game because I pretty much died.
Is that when you were sick?
Yeah, I was sick. I was in UAMS for like a month. Yeah, I was told I was not even going to play college football anymore. Like, in fact, I was told I wasn't going to go to college anymore. Like, I had to start getting on a liver transplant list. Really brutal. Somehow that doesn't happen, which we can go more in depth on another podcast on. And Coach Harsin comes. So Coach Harsin gets there. Is there anything that really sticks out in y'all's minds about Coach Harsin's year?
That was a rough year for me.
Yeah.
That was a tough year.
Yeah.
But Bedell was the best.
Yeah.
Love Bedell.
He's tight end coach at Auburn now.
Bedell, you're the man.
Shout out to Pitt also.
Coach Pitt, man.
Coach Pitt.
Oh.
Yeah, he was like
he loved Alan.
Yeah. Coach Pitt was, I mean, he was like a huge transition from Coach Russell, who we didn't talk about. Yeah, we had some really good strength conditioning coaches in there.
Who was the JT?
JT. He was the one who Coach Freeze. Yeah.
He was tough.
He was intense, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was JT. It was RC, JT, Russell, Pitt, Shadid. Russell and Shadid were culture guys.
Yes.
I loved it.
I have a funny story about Coach Shadid, which we'll get to under the Anderson year, which has not been talked about on this podcast yet because I've not had anybody that was there during the Anderson year. So hopefully we'll go a little bit more in depth in that one. But first, we'll go over the Coach Harsin year. So Coach Harsin gets there, and that was a significant culture change again. And I think by the time Coach Harsin gets there, it's our fourth head coach. I mean, that's when we're all just running around the facility just saying we're just a stepping stone. Like, we're a gas station where Coach Pitt's up, he gets his dream offer, and he's out. And so, yeah, the cat's out of the bag at that point. And in fact, whenever Coach Malzahn left, I think the only person that cried at that one was Rocky Hayes. Because Rocky was his baby.
And Bryce was his baby.
Yeah. Baby man-child Bryce Giddens. I mean, which he was just a freak. Absolute freak.
He was probably the best alignment on that team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and as a true freshman. Yeah, it was. It's sad that his career got cut short by concussions, but I don't think anybody makes it through college football unscathed. That's super rare if you do. So, Coach Harsin's year, for me, that was probably the most memorable year because, I mean, I went from not even supposed to be in college at all to coming back and working my way into a starting position. And really, I learned and grew the most that junior year. Because I also went from being a guy who was super quiet to trying to be like a vocal leader, which I'm really amazed that y'all aren't like making a joke about that. But
keep it to myself.
I think the quietness is a joke.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I had a good time that year. That year was, the most memorable game for me was the one I had circled from the very beginning was Auburn, for sure. It was just trying to like get back at Coach Malzahn, which I had a good game that game, but we as a team did not have a good game that game. Just could not score touchdowns. Yeah, that was, I mean, our non-conference between Missouri and Auburn that year was probably the toughest non-conference we had. Because they both played in the SEC championship.
Yeah, Missouri had one of the best teams in the nation, and Auburn lost in that championship.
Just listen to the list of guys I had to block at Missouri. You had Coney Ely, who's a third-round draft pick, has like 3 sacks in the Super Bowl against Peyton Manning. Shane Ray, who was a first-round draft pick for the Atlanta Falcons.
Broncos, wasn't it?
Well, he ended up Broncos. I think he started with the Falcons. Michael Sam, who
Defensive Player of the Year,
SEC Defensive Player of the Year, and they had a fourth guy that was really good. I don't know if he
wasn't it a linebacker. Was it a middle linebacker or something like that? I don't remember. Can't remember either. I had a great game that game.
Yeah,
I played field goal only, and I had a couple pancakes on field goal.
Yeah.
But it was obviously after the kick and
you're just being a dirty player.
Aggressive.
Yeah, doing the job. So
setting the tone.
That's right.
Yeah.
The tone. Got to.
So then, any games really stick out in y'all's minds that Coach Harsin year? Other than non-conference?
Western Kentucky. Wasn't that the Western Kentucky?
Yeah,
that was the game that was like the worst game.
Dude, that was such crap.
But we get on the bus and Lafayette had lost.
Yeah, that was
to someone that was terrible.
Monroe always beat Lafayette for us.
And so we're like,
always came through.
You're telling me we have a chance. And so we ended up winning the conference that year.
3-peat.
Because they lost to Monroe. So that was awesome that happened.
Yeah.
After heartbreak.
Yep.
So Western Kentucky, what other games would we have had that year? Monroe, we beat the brakes off of, didn't we?
Yeah, we beat
every time. We beat them 5
5
years in a row.
Yeah, lost to Lafayette.
Lost to Lafayette.
Yep.
Yeah, we got tore up that game.
Yeah, we did. They had huge. Lafayette always had just monster defensive linemen.
And offensive. They were big.
They were just big. They really kind of stick out in the Sun Belt for sure. It's just consistently being a really good team.
They look like pro players every year.
They got the right frame size.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have a lot of guys that go pro.
Mm-hmm. So Lafayette, did we play FIU that year? Or was that the year before?
That was the year before. So we had a lot of teams that departed from the Sun Belt Harson's year. So like FIU, North Texas is out, FAU is out.
FIU.
North Texas. Yeah, and then I think Middle Tennessee left as well.
They did.
Yeah, it was a really not a lot of teams that
entered in.
No,
it was
Middle Tennessee was in there, wasn't they? Weren't they? Yes, they were, because that's the game. I don't know if you remember this, but I forgot my knee braces.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe, no, it might have been a freeze. That was a freeze year.
I forgot my cleats when we played at FIU.
Yeah, well, freeze year, it was.
And Jay Avery had to go drive to like just a shoe store and go buy me cleats for that
size
game.
18 cleats.
Yeah, I mean, size 15 cleats are not easy to come by.
No, they aren't. Okay, so it was, freeze's year, Middle Tennessee. I forget my knee braces. Hiller's the head coach. I said, the equipment guy lost my knee braces. and I went and talked to Tremaine. Remember the guy with the dreads? And I was like, hey, do you mind if I tell him that you forgot my knee braces? Like, go ahead. And
Tremaine
came in clutch. Thank you, Tremaine. You're the man.
Yeah, man, the equipment guys don't get enough shout-outs.
No, he gets a shout-out. Him and Jay
Avery. Jay
is awesome. Ever.
Man, if you needed
he
something,
would be a great guy to get on this. You could get him.
I've talked to him a little bit. At some point, I definitely would love to have Jay on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess let's go ahead and just hop into the Anderson year, though, because that's the one that certainly, I mean, we all played a lot, haven't talked about yet. So after Harsin leaves, then Coach Anderson comes on, and obviously by that point, it's just like it's a joke. That we just have a new head coach every year. Yeah. But that season, obviously, that relationship starts out really bad, not because of Coach Anderson, but because Markell gets murdered. And so that's the first time we meet Coach Anderson, is that meeting when he tells us that, and that we're going to go to the funeral, in our jerseys.
It was like that. I remember we were told, and I think it was the first day of school, wasn't it?
It was the first day we were back. Because, I mean, it happens like a few days before we're supposed to all come back. It was, it's super close to whenever we're all supposed to be back and report. Yeah, that was just a really, that was tough. That was tough. That was definitely the first close person that I had ever had lost.
Yeah.
Lost my grandpa. But, I mean, like, when you lose a guy in football, it's like you're with him every day.
And he was with us from day one.
From day one.
That was like the most tragic moment at that point down my life, for sure.
Yeah.
Probably since.
Yeah, and he would have been the 11th guy that would have been 5'5". I remember when we kind of figured that out, me and you were talking, Alan, about it. And, yeah, just really tragic, I think is the word that really comes to my mind for that.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah. So then, that year we have Walt Bell, the offensive coordinator.
Love that guy.
Man, dude, he is something else. I sent Alan a video last night of a coach. And have you ever heard of the show Letterkenny?
I have not.
There's a hockey coach on there.
That's Coach Bell.
That's Coach Bell. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. The hockey coach on Letterkenny. If you want to get a feeling for what Walt Bell's like, just go watch that. Because we can't really.
I can't repeat anything he says.
Not really.
Not today.
No, not here. But man, he was a great guy. And you get to the point too that you learn to filter the cuss words out when you play college football. Like, it's just you try to look for the substance that's in there versus the verbal abuse that's coming at you. And you have to learn how to do that to play in college. I don't care where you're at. So that was a really interesting year. So one of the stories that sticks out in my mind is it was Adam Whalen.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So Adam Whalen consistently shows up late to stuff. Okay, that's just kind of his thing.
And that was so rare for an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever had anybody kind of consistently like, come on, dude.
Wide receivers tend to be kind of like the problem children group. If you just had to pick a group that
who's gonna be late?
who's going to try to push buttons, typically wide receivers. Offensive linemen, very rarely that you have a guy like that. So there's a different thing that Coach D does, and he's real big about trying to build culture. And so Adam Whalen shows up late, and Coach D comes up with this sadistic idea that I'm not going to punish the guy. I'm going to punish everybody else and make him watch. Make him watch. And so we have to be on the field at 5 a.m.
Like 4:55.
Yeah, on the field at 5 a.m. And we had guys show up late to that.
Yeah.
Stephen Hogan shows up late to that.
We come the next day again.
Yeah, so if you were a team captain that year, if you volunteered to be a captain, at least at that part of the season. And so if you volunteered to be a captain, you had to get punished twice. So we're punished from 5 a.m. up till like 7:45. I mean, we're doing thousands of yards of bear crawls and hundreds of up downs.
Rolls.
And it was just freaking brutal punishment. Probably the most brutal punishment.
It was workout punishment.
I mean, it was 2 hours and 45 minutes of straight
just awful
of hell.
Yeah. So then we get punished for this whole time, and I think all of us, I don't know about you guys, but I was just dead sore. I was dead the whole day. And then I get to my house that night, and I'm like, holy crap, we have to do that again. We've got to show up at 5 a.m. tomorrow and do that again. I think I'm going to quit.
It was a repeat.
Yeah, I thought real hard about quitting because of that. And we get there, and I show up there at like 4:45. I'm in the locker room, trying not to cry. And Coach Shadid gets in there, and he's like, guys, I thought about the whole way in here. I was going to bust y'all's ass. And I came up with some great ideas. But we're gonna talk today, and we're going to figure out how this never happens again. And I was just like, oh, God, you heard my prayers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I forgot about that.
Oh man, dude, it was such a relief to not have to be punished again. But Adam actually came into the locker room after that punishment. He felt so bad. He wanted somebody to punch him in the face.
And he wanted to be beat up.
Yeah. And Alan, you did it.
He asked for it.
Alan just cracks him in the face.
He said somebody. I was like, okay. I'm so tired. Hell with you. You remember how we used to call each other every morning, though, to make sure that we would be on time?
Or we pick each other up, like, hey, are you up? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we all
just making sure.
Yeah, because we were not going to do that.
No, we that was definitely something that left a huge impact on us all. Was how terrified you were of being that guy.
Because you would be that guy. And that started, I feel like, with the Mounds on here with the orange eaters.
Yeah, we talked about the orange eaters on the last one.
I actually was an orange eater.
Were you?
Now, I'm swear. It was not, I tore my PCL in the NIU game. There was one play that I played. And it was a play where they put in like extra offensive linemen to play tight end. Yep. And we were on the goal line. We ran like a counter my way. And I went straight to a linebacker, blocked him, whatever. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, my knee hurts a little bit. Yeah. And I remember going back to the sideline. And then it was close to half. And then we went in for half. And we came back out. And I was like, man, I barely move. I remember like trying to kick set, and I was like, I can't. I was like, I don't know what's
Yeah.
wrong with me. I wasn't worried about going back in because I knew it was my play.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up. Alan was my roommate. I remember waking up the next day. You went home, I think, with your girlfriend at the time, Randy.
Yeah.
And I was there in the room by myself, and I remember just like, I was like, I can't move. And I called my mom. I was like, y'all have to come up here and get me. Because I cannot move.
That PCL sucks.
Yeah, because it really wasn't, I didn't even really feel it at first. But when we started practicing with Malzahn, it was just a couple weeks later.
Mm.
And I just couldn't move. And so, and I really tried. I always tried hard in like the off seasons.
Yeah.
Not so much in the seasons, but in the off seasons, I always tried really hard. And man, I was an orange eater for like a day, and it was awful. But
I was never an orange
So I
eater.
don't remember the orange eaters. What did they do?
Okay,
They had to
so
wear
there were
orange vests.
three tiers. If you were an orange eater, that was like the bottom of the bottom. 80%
Oh, I
of the
do
team was like
remember vests
average,
now,
and then
yeah.
there were like the elites. I still can't remember the name of what you were. If you were like one of the elites,
I remember it was a black jersey.
Yeah, it was a black jersey. Like Tim Starson was one.
I think probably
JD was. I think I was one for a little bit. But I really, that Malzahn year, I worked extremely hard.
Mm-hmm.
But the orange eaters got punished the whole time.
Mm-hmm. I remember I was one for like a day, but I tore my PCL, man. It was brutal.
You remember when you tore my PCL?
I did.
Yeah.
You tore your PCL?
Oh yeah, dude, Harson's year, fall camp. Yeah, Alan
I
pulls.
pancaked something, and he was just standing there.
Oh,
It
that's
was-
your fault.
That's what I said. He should have been moving.
Should have got off the line sooner. So I got a little bit of a late start.
Alan, too.
Alan blows my PCL, which is still screwed up this day. My leg, like, I don't know if you can see that.
A little loose.
Yeah, it's just a little loose. Sorry.
Rocking back and
Yeah.
forth.
Oh yeah.
Walk.
I don't know how I walk. I did a triathlon a month ago.
That's why you wore the knee brace.
Yeah, that's why I wore the knee brace. It was all because of you. Well, then my senior year, very first catch, I catch a flat route in cover 2, and the corner blows my knee out. There's a picture of it that's just absolutely brutal. Like my leg stays straight, shoulder hits the
Is that
ground.
Montana?
That's Montana State.
Montana State.
Yeah, just absolutely get it blown out. I'm out for 3 games and then come back. But
I remember.
that was a rough year. I was hurt those last 2 years, almost every game in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
Which you have to learn to play through pain if you're going to play college football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Definitely. Yeah, I remember I
scoot back a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
There you go. Yeah.
had a couple injuries that year too.
Yeah.
Tore my UCL in my elbow
Yeah.
versus Utah State. And then I had a high ankle sprain.
Yeah. So that
still messes with me.
That's senior year, man. So another thing some people don't realize is every time you have a coaching transition, you lose 5 to 10 guys. You have the head coach comes in and he'll kick a couple right off the bat to kind of like set the tone. Then you'll have a couple guys that'll want to transfer. You'll have a couple guys that want to quit. And so the attrition didn't really hit us until Coach Anderson's year.
Mm-hmm.
That was when the attrition hit us hard on offensive and defensive line, which
Yeah.
normally at the tier that the Sun Belt is at anyway is probably your thinnest position groups.
Mm-hmm.
As far as just from a talent perspective, it's you can find receivers at that level fairly easily, that there's not like a huge drop off, but there's a significant drop off at that level, offensive and defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So super thin. In fact, the last game we were joking around about this, but when we played Toledo, we had 6 offensive linemen, and I told
Did we
Coach-
have 6?
Well, we had 5 plus Tudor.
That's right.
Yeah. And so anyway, I told Coach Dodd, like, if somebody goes down, I'll switch jerseys. I'll play offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I was happy with that. But that was just that was brutal.
We were beat.
We were beat. We had like no defensive linemen left at the end of that season. And it really started to show about the Appalachia State game. And really
Well, that's
showed
the game that
against Texas
Austin
State.
Morton, I feel like, got hurt. 'Cause he was starting. Devin Money was hurt that week. Austin Morton comes in, gets hurt on the first drive.
I do remember that
Mm.
because
And-
I had to go to left guard for like one play, and 2 times come in, then we got
We switched.
switched.
Switch.
back.
Yeah. And so, 2 times was then at left guard after you switched back with him. And we just weren't cohesive.
Yeah.
Because that group of guys just had.
Freddie had to run for his life a lot.
He did.
Yeah.
And that
It's a
group
good
of
thing he was
guys-
fast.
He was fast.
Yeah.
Remember the Whisper? 44 Giant Whisper? We ran it 4 times in a row. Remember we were on the goal line and we were on power, like tackle over power, like 4 times in a row. The 4th time, Freddie bootlegs it and scores because we just couldn't block this guy. We were on the 1 for 4 plays in a row.
Oh man!
But we scored. But man, we were decimated that game. I do remember that. That was a game that really sticks out.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we remember they had that huge nose tackle.
Yeah.
And we hurt them on the first play.
Yeah.
We ran outside zone. I was decent at outside zone. And I remember Alan was coming right here, and I was like, dude, you're going to destroy this guy. Yeah. And I remember, like, a lot of times, offensive lineman coaches teach people how to move their hands and do all these things. But I was like, I did it a little differently on outside zone. I'm running, I would chop down. Because these defensive linemen would come up here. So I would just a little
like
chop.
Judy chop, like
Virginia
Ninja. Just
it was a Judy chop. I would Judy chop the guy and slip by him, Judy chop, and Alan. Me and Alan worked well together. He would just be right on my butt, and he would just cut him. Mm-hmm. I think that guy tore his elbow up that game or shoulder or something.
You got the one.
Do you remember how much crap Alan would talk when he'd come in the game though?
Alan talked crap.
Oh,
I don't remember Alan talking.
Alan talked a lot. When he come, I mainly remember this from Coach Harsin. Like Cliff gets hurt, which also was fairly common. Like Cliff would get hurt, you'd come in. That happened. Malzahn's year, Harsin's year, and you would just come in and talk so much crap, like trying to get in the other guy's head, which is so completely unlike you. You are not a guy that talks a lot, but you talked more crap maybe than anybody else that I played with. Like it would just kind of.
It was quiet. Nobody else.
Was this all like PTSD from the Brian Hall thing that made you get in fights every day?
No.
Like you were just a very violent, aggressive guy. You just had a lot of rage.
Yeah, I guess so. That's how you're supposed to play, though.
Yeah.
Well, it was great because Alan had all the rage and I kind of just directed traffic.
Yeah.
So it was perfect.
I didn't talk at all when I was in the game. I would talk a lot when I was on the sideline and things like that. Just to
I would talk after I beat somebody.
Yeah.
Or like after like halftime, you know.
Yeah.
But never like before the play. I would get very creative on the field. If it was a pass block and I was by myself, I would yell screen. I would yell reverse. Yeah. I would yell anything and everything to try to make that guy.
Mike's way over there.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be like no play, but like Mike 45. Move my thumb on the fake snap, get him to jump off sides. Perfect. I got really creative. I remember we're playing Georgia State. They ran a 3-front. The way we were blocking that week, I think it was more like a fan type of block. Mm-hmm. So Alan wasn't there. Not good. And so I'm blocking this guy, and I'm just yelling screen. And he stops. He goes, that ain't no screen. And he takes off running again. And by that time, we got rid of the ball. But I had to get very creative. Yeah. And I remember, like, inside zone. I couldn't hardly block the guy. So I would just take off running like it was outside zone. And then he would play it. Because the way they played it, they played a very reactive type of defense.
Yeah, they were almost like in a frog stance.
Yes, they were.
They would read you.
Perfect for me. Because they weren't going to obliterate me.
Yeah.
So perfect. I could outsmart the guy. And so I would take off running like I was running outside zone, and I would just throw the guy like to the other side of the tackle. Now, Coach Ellerby hated it, but it was the only way I could block the guy, and it worked.
Well, hold on. That's a position coach we got to talk about, man.
Ellerby was he changed my mindset for the rest of my life. Yeah. Love that guy.
He was brutal. With his feedback.
If you're an offensive line coach in college, you've got 20, 25 guys. They're all 300, 320. And you're trying to motivate them through a 90-degree hot day.
There's not much to motivate a bunch of cattle.
You got to really get after them.
Yeah.
I mean,
And you also, there's a part that's underappreciated in, I think that what makes the difference, if you're a player trying to play at that level of football, everybody is physically roughly the same. Uh-huh. Mentally, though, that's where the difference is made between your studs and your duds. Mm-hmm. Like mentally, I was very weak up until Harsin's year, and the whole liver thing and almost dying just made me be like, okay, number one, I'm just happy to be here. Mm-hmm. Number two is I don't really care what happens. I'm just going to work as hard as I can and be happy to be here. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not going to worry about screwing up. It's like I shouldn't be here at all. And I did significantly better, even though I was in much worse shape those last 2 years physically.
That mindset.
Yeah, but I didn't have the mindset until that. Because, like, under Coach Malzahn, I was physically in really good shape. I was like 245, 7% body fat. I had like a 4.7 40, which is all stuff that compared to what I was the next 2 years, way better.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like, I remember in pregame at Oregon, Applin throws me 2 balls right in the chest, and I'm just sitting there like, don't drop it, and just drop it. Yeah, of course. You do, like, if that's the way you're trying to psych yourself up, you'll screw up every time.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the mindset of, no, I want this to come to me. I want to make this play. Makes all the difference in the world.
Mm-hmm. I love that whole last year's coaching staff because Ellerby was that way. Do you remember, Alan, when he like put his face on the ground and started like acting like he was blocking somebody?
Yes, it was
in
awesome.
the meeting room.
Yeah,
like he put his face on the ground and had his butt up in the air and was just like driving through tables,
trying to make a point on how to get low.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, this guy's intense, man.
Yeah.
And like I love that, and Coach Bell too.
Yeah,
I remember
Coach Bell was probably the most intense offensive coordinator,
and probably the first guy that ever really believed in us.
Yeah.
And he was like, I remember him saying at practice, like, this ragtag bunch of guys, maybe he called us a motley crew, I can't remember, but he's like, this is the guys I'm going with. And that was the first time in my experience today, I was like, okay, this dude's got our back.
Yeah.
Regardless. And I loved his offensive mindset too. He's like, no, we're on the goal line, we're putting tackle over to the right, and we're running power every time.
Yeah.
And we did. And we were good at it because we had a mindset of, this is what we're going to do. Yeah. We don't care.
Yeah, we had a really good offense that year.
Mm-hmm. We did.
I mean, we scored a lot of points. Freddie had a ridiculous amount of yardage that year. We just, man, it killed us that we didn't have any depth at defensive line.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, compared to what it was, you know, even like the year before, you had Ryan Carruthers, you had
we had NFL guys before that year.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had NFL guys, and you know, and I kind of noticed that as we, you know, when we get there with Roberts, there's Derek Newton.
Yeah, there's a locker room full of NFL
There's NFL guys. There's DeMario. There's all these dudes that just look like dudes.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you got us. I mean, we're bigger, but I don't think we look like NFL guys.
No.
We just look like big guys.
Yeah.
We look like, you know, decent looking big guys. And that's kind of the rest of the time there. There was nobody else that was just like, man, that guy looks good.
Carruthers is the last guy that's been drafted at ASU. Stop brought this up. Yeah. We've had guys, I mean, JD, obviously, I think he should have been drafted.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But he's undrafted. And he's playing now. He's having a great career.
Mm-hmm. He also had a lot of injuries late. JD did.
Yeah. But there's not been anybody drafted since Ryan Carruthers.
Yeah, I remember we were hoping that Q Lee would get drafted.
Yeah, Q was the best one.
He was the best player in
class.
Yeah. 100%.
Oh yeah, dude. His instincts were at another level.
He was a great football player.
Great football player. And Sterling Young was a really good.
Sterling Young was really good
football player.
You know another guy, Frankie Jackson,
went
from being a really good running back to being a really good
he's just a really good athlete,
a nickel, whatever he played on defense.
Yeah. He messaged me like 10 minutes before this.
Really?
Yeah, I've been asking for pictures, which, once again, if anybody out there has pictures, videos, media, send them to me. I'll put it on 5for5journey.com. Whole point is to just make like a database for this period of time. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he sent me some messages. I mean, Chico was a good corner.
Chico was a good corner.
Yeah. So, I mean, we had some good players. And, I mean, really, we had Bo Wallace. He just left us.
Yeah, I hung out with him a lot freshman year. He was so good.
He's really good.
He would throw the ball on scout team, and it would be like probably a 60-yard throw.
Yeah.
But it'd be from where his release point was, the entire throw. Yeah. I'd never heard the ball before.
Yeah.
Before him. And it would do, and it would just sizzle through the air.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
We had some really good guys in our class. It's just, I mean, there were only 10 of us left by the end. Like, there was just not very many left.
Yeah.
And
we had a good class. I mean, Brandon Joyner, Dwayne Frampton.
Yeah.
You know, we played a significant role over time.
Yep.
And we had some dudes.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So, let's see what else, man. And then, of course, y'all wanted to end your career in a fight.
We did.
We did. And y'all did.
That's right.
Yeah.
No shame.
Well, going just kind of that whole game. Man, by the time we played that 13th game, man, I was so beat.
Were y'all, I went back and I think we tend to, you know, you look back at these memories and you think of the good times. And so you always kind of think, like, oh man, I'd love to go back. And I went back and I read through some of my journals and I was a team captain, but I was like, I was done. My body was so wrecked. I was sick of hurting every single day. And I was just ready to move on.
And the stress, I mean, the mental and emotional stress that we went through, I'm sure all college football players go through this.
Sure.
It was brutal.
Yeah. And maybe it's a little bit extra taxing for us because everything changes every freaking year.
Yeah.
But I was certainly ready to move on to engineering and just kind of being a grown up and having a career.
Same. And I remember we were on the bus to Toledo. And I was excited to play. But I just remember sitting on the bus pregame, and I was just like, kind of that moment, I think that Stockmer talked about. And he was at Auburn, and he was lined up against the dude that was like 6'3". And he's like, you know what? I'm either going to catch it or I'm not.
Yeah.
And I kind of had a similar moment to that when I was on the bus, and I was like, you know what? This is it, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that last game, I just played without the knee brace because it's like, if I blow my knee out, who cares? It's like my career's over anyway.
That was probably that was like the anxiety point where it ended. It was like,
your very last game?
It was the very last game. On the way, it was like,
yeah, you got pretty nervous before those games, didn't you?
Yeah, I would. But I was also very prepared, especially for the games that we played, mentally at least. And I just remember that game. I was like, you know what, this is it. In about 3 hours, we're going to be done. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we'd have to, like, calm you down a little bit. Like, you would get super amped up.
Yeah.
Like, during the game, you'd be like, I agree.
Yeah, a little ADHD in there. Sometimes it was great, sometimes it was terrible.
Yeah. Like, Alan was, other than the talking crap part, you were always very level. Very even-keeled.
Yeah, it goes back to the either it's going to work out or it's not kind of deal. It is what it is. You just do as best as you can.
Emotional anchor.
Well, Alan always had a good mindset, too. Kind of the whole time. He was going to work hard.
Oh, yeah.
I had to.
Yeah.
I was unathletic. I was slower than everybody else. I could lift weights, but that's not a very good talent.
No. Yeah. And your form was, like, your squat, dude, awful.
His stance
was
the old back still hurts.
Oh, man, dude.
Do you remember the stance? And it'd just be like, I don't know how his body...
How is his back not just completely blown out?
Yeah. I don't know how his legs are so wide. But he's in a perfect squat.
I think all of us were like that, at least the three of us, in that we weren't good enough to not try hard.
We weren't just going to go out there and ball out.
Not like a Don Jones.
No.
Like Don Jones was physically athletic enough to where he could just show up and he was going to be one of the most dominant athletes on the field.
Yeah.
You know, trying to think, Michael Dyer, you remember when he came for a minute?
Yeah.
Michael Dyer, probably the best athlete that we've ever seen. Man, what a difference he could have made had he made it for longer than like 2 months.
You know, he was a little shorter, a little thicker than Mario Davis.
Yeah, I think he may have had more muscles than Demar, just in a more compact.
He was more compact.
He could do a front flip in full pads with a helmet, just standing there. Like I remember doing skill stuff with him, and I would just be like, "Dude, you're a physical phenomenon."
And his legs were this thick, and his calves were. He looked like a Greek god.
Yeah. Do you remember when Gurley knocked the crap out of him though in spring ball? Like that was, I will say, the moment that I realized that Gurley was going to be a stud was when he just hammered Dyer.
I love that guy's mindset. He was going to knock you out.
Oh man, dude, Gurley. I think we all love Gurley because number one, he came as a walk-on from Pine Bluff, Galway. Him and Booker.
Yeah,
and super skinny guys when they got there. Super small. They've got a great story. Looking forward to having them on at some point.
I'd love to hear that one.
Yeah, but anyway, so Gurley knocks the crap out of Dyer. And up until that point, like Malzahn's years when Gurley starts to have his kind of coming awake party, but he's behind Don Jones.
Right.
Like, what are you going to do? But he smokes Dyer. Dyer comes out of the game, and he's like, damn, that's the hardest I've ever been hit. And I was
got absolutely.
And this dude playing the national championship, I'm like, okay, Gurley's like legit.
That might have been the hardest practice besides DeMario's hit versus Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
That Gurley hit might have been the hardest one that I was ever on the field with.
Yeah. I mean, if Dyer says it's the hardest hit he's ever had, that's something.
That was intense.
And Gurley goes on to have a really good career at A-State after that. But, dude, his arms, like he was so freakishly long.
Yeah.
And that wiry muscle build that Don Jones had, he was like a longer version of Don Jones. Yeah, man, he was
a good player.
He's doing real good right now. He wrote a book.
He's
got a book called The Black Accountant, really good book. Yeah, he's doing real good.
Yeah, and I feel like Booker's doing well too, right?
Yeah, he's doing real good too. Both those guys are.
And those guys, I love those guys.
Yeah. I added the fainting goat into the intro just for Booker.
That's awesome.
Now, he would have made some NIL money, and he tweeted about that.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine the fainting goat apparel that he could have had?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
and he knew how to market himself. I thought he would be good at that.
Yeah, he would have. It's a shame, man. Just need time machine.
Yeah, I mean, I could have made $50, $60 easily.
Off being like the dude official
5 years
rep.
of playing college football.
Yeah. So I guess that's. Do y'all have any other stuff like while we were playing? Or?
We should go through that senior year.
Okay.
Because we all finally, Alan played more than me. You played probably more than both of us. I don't remember. But my senior year was finally, I finally started playing. But
yeah,
what an interesting year.
Yeah. It was a really. Yeah, I guess.
I'm going to pull up the schedule on my phone, and so we can just talk about those games.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this has not been covered. This is new ground on the podcast, and what better guys to cover it with than you two?
I'm pumped, man.
I am.
So that's our fifth year, our final year. That's our fifth head coach.
Yep.
Fifth, sixth offensive line. No, fourth or fifth.
Fourth offensive lineman because we had Hiller twice.
Yeah, I had Harris twice. So it was my fourth tight end coach.
Wait, Harris was there? Oh yeah, Harris
he was there. Roberts and Freese.
Yep.
Which he was awesome. I had really great tight end coaches in Coach Harris, in Coach Riddle, and also in Coach Dodd, and even Coach Jackson. Honestly, made me. He probably improved. Okay, let me just say this about Coach Jackson. He probably made me. He improved me the most, but he was brutal. I mean, there was one tight end meeting, and Kedrick Murray, Anthony Kinsey, and Dre can attest to this, Cody Prater too, but he just literally beat the brakes off of me because I did this thing. You're playing the piano. You're playing the piano with your fingers. You got them up here. And he was like, you got to, like you're in handcuffs. You gotta be inside. Yeah. And so he just took me by the chest. Okay, and he grabs me and he just starts slapping me like WWE Raw.
Nice.
He's
Ric
like,
Flair.
Woo! He would make me put my fingers like out in front to where your chest is loose, and then he would Ric Flair just smack me in the chest, and then he would make me put my thumbs up and flex, and then he'd WWE smack me in the chest. But somehow through that beating like a redheaded stepchild, it made the connection in my head. It's like, dude, your muscles are all flexed if your thumbs are up. And so I would just go home and I would practice on like a doorstop where you had to make your hands go inside and just beat the brakes off that, like take my anger out from that meeting there. And it made me a way better blocker after that. Because your hand position paired with your footwork is probably like the two most important things to being a good blocker. Like you could have the best footwork in the world, but if your hands are like outside and up, number one, you're going to get called for holding. You're going to get smoked. You got no power. So Coach Jackson, as brutal and interesting of a guy as he was, he did make me a lot better. But man, like Coach Riddle and Coach Dodd were just like as cool as the other side of the pillow.
Coach Dodd was cool, man. So do you think that Coach Jackson was the most beneficial to you in those five?
From football, from football, yes. Like he probably improved, but also, and I can't. What was his name? Had the real long dreads. He actually played tight end in the NFL.
Before we were there?
No. He was there on Coach Malzahn's year. Like, he helped out with the tight ends.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Oh, their coach.
Yeah.
He was the one that played at, like, Shiloh or whatever. And then cut him off when we won the conference championship.
Yeah. He helped me a lot.
Yeah, he was cool.
I went blank. He was awesome. Was it Coach West?
Yes.
Yeah, Coach West.
I feel like it was him.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
I mean, they all helped me a lot, but I would say, like, Coach Harris probably taught me the most about just, like, being a man.
Okay.
Coach Riddle was just, like, a very... Coach Riddle was awesome, dude.
He seemed pretty chill.
He was super chill, man. Like, he would let me and Grizz do whatever we wanted. Because me and Grizz, during Coach Harson's year, pretty much were in on almost every play together. And so we would just look at each other and be like, you want to play H-back this play? Yeah, I'll play H-back this play. And we would just...
That was a dream year for the tight end room.
Oh, dude. I really...
Like 21 personnel.
Yeah. I thought hard about transferring to Boise State. When Coach Riddle and Coach Harson talked to me about it, mainly Coach Riddle. And I mean, from just like a football career, I would have done better out there. But from a life perspective, I'm glad I stayed at ASU just because, I mean, I live in Arkansas. I'm an Arkansas guy. Boise's pretty freaking far away from Arkansas.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, that was a dream season for a guy with my body type.
Yeah. Alan, who do you feel like was your, out of Hiller, Grimes? No. Yeah, Hiller, Grimes, Bedell, and Ellerby. Each one were so different.
They are all very different people.
Coach Grimes probably was the best one, though. Like,
he was really, he was, I don't know, because you can take some, that's the thing about it. You get so many of them, you take so much away from each one of them.
Yeah, you do.
I feel like if I were, man, I don't know.
Because they all come in trying to teach you something different.
I know.
I feel like from an intensity standpoint, and I'm going to knock your dick in the dirt. Bedell was that guy.
Yeah.
Or Ellerby.
Yeah.
I feel like from a cerebral standpoint, it was Ellerby.
Yeah.
The guy knew what was going on. From kind of just a hard-nosed, this is how we're going to do it, period, kind of guy was Grimes.
Yeah.
And he wasn't going to waver, but he was very consistent. And you were going to know what to do. And then Hiller was kind of all those things together. And I hated that Hiller didn't go with them to Ole Miss.
Yeah. I know.
Because he, like, and obviously his journey since then has been outstanding.
Yeah, he's done real well for himself.
Cincinnati, and I think he was at USF. I mean, Indiana, I think, too.
Yeah.
He was kind of all those things in one, and he was awesome.
Yeah. I do want to just say Coach Dodd was awesome in that, man, he still checks on me. You know, I mean, like, he's just a really great guy. That was our senior year was when I was really like tinkering and trying to do inventions and all this stuff. And like Coach Dodd would always like be seeing what I was working on and stuff. And I mean, even after football, he'd call me, hey man, I got this idea. I want you to make it. And like, you know, just stuff like that.
He's personable.
Very, very personable coach. You know, and it may have been the first time that he coached tight ends. Like, he was an offensive coordinator pretty much every stop before that.
Yeah.
So I definitely learned a lot more from like the bigger picture X's and O's style from Coach Dodd. But yeah, I was very fortunate to have really good tight end coaches while I was there.
Yeah, we had some great offensive line coaches. I think Bedell may have made the biggest impact on me. I was also his steward.
You were his scribe, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I was his boy, and we'd sit on the sideline. Alan was like the sixth guy that year, so he would go in a lot.
Yeah, you played a lot.
I was probably the seventh guy, maybe, but Bryce was ahead of me.
Yeah,
Bryce was probably the best offensive lineman, maybe, that we played with.
Yeah, I think
Derek
so.
Newton.
Well, Derek
Newton too.
Derek Newton,
Freak.
Bryce was just different. He had that leverage and that strength.
My God, he was so explosive.
Strength. I mean, how few people that we ever played with could actually like block Ryan Carruthers on one?
Oh, we didn't play with anybody. So.
I mean, I remember there was one play that stuck out in my head.
Two wrestling, just like apes, just like Bryce and Carruthers just going.
Carruthers took one play. I remember this distinctly. Carruthers took Tom Castlaw, then Sifa, then Kautai, and just threw all three of them like little children, like one hand at a time.
That would have been his red shirt freshman
and then
year.
ate the running back after that.
He hit me a few times too. You remember Grimes? Remember that terrible drill? It was a little different for guards, but for centers, he put us on a backside shade and make us block inside zone through that guy. It was backside. We had to go through the play side linebacker, though, and I had to go against Carruthers every time.
Yeah, it's awful.
I didn't get better. Like, that's how good he was.
Just smoking.
He was so good that I went against him every play, and I got worse.
I mean, the only thing about it, though, is like just from like a delta value of the guy you're going against every day in practice versus the guy you're going to play in the game, it is just like by the time you get to the game and that's the kind of guy you're going against, it's like, okay, this is a lot easier.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And Carruthers was so hard because he had the best leverage. You know who else was the hardest guy to block? Austin Morton.
Dude, I'm so glad we moved over to offensive line.
Austin Morton came in as a D
God, I don't
lineman.
have to
He was
block you
a
anymore.
tank.
Yeah. He can dance really good.
He can dance. And then he went to offensive line, and it was the best day of my life.
We were all so pumped, dude. He was smoking.
Because I could handle the long guys. The long guys weren't my issue. It was those dudes that were like little bulldozers that I could not handle.
I kind of had the opposite when Chris Stone moved from tight end to defensive end.
I hated blocking that guy.
Dude, Chris Stone, it was so weird because
he
he knew how to use his hands. Very, very athletic. Very much like the flow is within you.
He had flow.
He
had
understood
flow.
football. He understood the game. Like I said, he knew where he had to be.
And he was so instinctual with everything he did.
Yeah.
You know, I would rather, you know, I didn't have success against them, but I would rather go against Mario and Q and all those guys than someone like the Bulldozers, Carruthers, and Austin Morton or Chris Stone, because that guy just was so savvy.
Yeah. Really, really just kind of great football instincts and very confident. Like showed up day one with a lot of confidence, and don't mean that in a bad way. It's something you need if you're going to be successful.
And his freshman year, he played tight end, but then the redshirt freshman year, he played.
Malzahn's year, he moves to,
and he played.
Yeah.
Started.
Yeah, like
From
all
day
4
one.
years.
Yeah, he was a great player.
Really, really good player. Okay, so let's hop back into senior year.
Okay,
let's get
pull up the schedule.
Yeah, so
we got Montana State first.
Yeah, and I blow my knee out. So like the first part of the year, I mean, I'm on the sideline the first 4 games pretty much. So you guys go ahead and what like the Utah State game was huge.
Huge. And this is the first time I played a lot in 5 years.
Yeah.
I hadn't played a lot since high school. I mean, I'd played on special teams, some punt, played a lot of field goal.
Yeah.
Which sucked, but it made me so much better. But this is the first time I'm playing 80 snaps a game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For the first time since high school.
Yeah, we ran a lot of snaps on offense. I think Freddie had the record for the most plays played after that season. I was going back and looking at some record for stock. Freddie has a lot of really good stats, man.
Yes.
He
was a
Freddie's
good player.
Really good player. Really great athlete.
Phenomenal athlete. Yeah, and he's doing well.
Yeah.
Montana State, we went 37-10. I mean, I think the first play, Michael Gordon took it to the house, didn't he? On a power read?
Yeah, we
possibly.
That game kind of started out slow, which once again, for me, my knee turns into spaghetti.
Yeah.
That's a weird feeling when you're trying to walk off the field and your leg just literally doesn't work. That sucked.
I remember those guys. They played hard. They played to the whistle, which I liked. It was good.
Yeah,
We warned
it
about
made
that.
us better.
Yeah.
We were actually better than those guys.
Yeah,
which was,
that was
nice. And that was
which was an odd surprise.
maybe 1 more or 2 more times we were better than other people.
Yeah, talk about Miami and Tennessee, though. So that's
So
your
Tennessee-
first games you're getting to start where we're playing it Miami.
Tennessee's my first away game.
Yep.
It's also 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Hot.
120. It's just like that Lafayette game. I traveled to that game and it was miserable.
Yep.
And then Tennessee was so hot.
Yep.
And I remember, the first play of the game, they called HUD, and I didn't hear it. There was 110,000 people.
We had
in
a
the
lot of
stands.
guys that got hurt that game.
Yes, and it was
Humes blew out his bicep. Yeah.
talking about another freak.
Chris
He's a
Humes.
Chris Humes. You look at that guy, you're like, that guy needs to be in the NFL.
Yeah.
Born to play ball.
Yeah, and I remember talking to him, and I was like, man, what do you eat? He's like, chicken strips, french fries.
Yeah.
I was like,
There's
what?
just some
No, you
guys
don't.
that can eat.
I was like, what do you
whatever
eat?
they-
Fish and salads? Like,
Yeah.
And he was a freak.
Yeah.
But Tennessee, super hot. I played well that game.
Yeah.
You played well that game. And I remember, thank God, I had a little bit of creativity in me. I hated looking under my legs and then coming up for the snap because I needed to see what was going on.
Yeah, he had to call the play.
And so, Alan, thank God, I was like, dude, I've seen this before. Can you just look back and I'll just tell you everything that's going on in front of you? And we did.
Yeah.
And then we made up a new way to snap the ball because
Alan looked back.
what you usually could do at center is you could look under your legs, get up, point. And I learned this from Tom. They would point, but you can't do that anymore.
Right. Really?
Yeah, because it was like so far ahead of the ball, right? Like I'm here and you can't do that.
Huh.
But
Didn't
Alan
know.
could because he was about 2 feet behind me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what we do is we pitched this like mid-week, and Ellerby let us do it. There's a lot of things that we pitched and it ended up working, and we'll get to that. But like it would be one of those things where Alan would just look back, and it was probably good for you. You probably got to chill for a minute.
And stretch my back out a little bit.
Yeah. And so, and I'd be like, I would call the protections, do all that. That was the only benefit I brought to the whole group. I kind of got I was able to.
We were all very savvy by
Yes,
senior year.
yes.
We had just seen so many different coaches.
Yeah.
Everybody where they need to be.
Yeah, and Alan was savvy enough to not look at the thing, and I'd be like, hey, you got 3. We're going to ace up to whatever we would talk. And he would just look back, and it was awesome because Alan could just point.
Yeah.
Just like Tom used to, he would just point. Actually, he would just be like this.
Yeah.
And I think you got to play in a 2-point stance that game, didn't you?
Probably.
Yeah, and he would just kind of just do that right there, and you'd snap it, and we'd go. But I played well against Tennessee. At halftime, I was on an IV. It was awful. It was about a drive or two I didn't play in the second half because I was just
shot.
Dead.
Yeah.
But that IV finally hit. But I played pretty good against Tennessee. That game's on YouTube, by the way. You can just watch offense.
Oh, wow.
It's cool. But I remember the ref, terrible SEC ref. And I remember, like, we would be blocking, and me and Alan did this all the time. Like, he'd be blocking a guy, and I would just come and try to kill him.
Okay.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
I'd have a guy,
somebody
and he would
stand
just
him up and somebody
rib shot him. And just to set the tone. Because that's what we talked about all the time, was setting the tone.
Yeah.
And
y'all
and we
pretty
would.
mean. Yeah.
And we would. And I loved it when we'd call, like, inside zone to the right, because me and Alan were about to murder this guy.
Yeah.
Every time. I don't think there was one dude we played that we ran a forefront that we didn't just obliterate. Or if it was like the backside of an outside zone, I would chop him down, and you would just.
So it was awesome where I played at. So if we were running inside zone right, I had you to help. If we were running a gap scheme, Colton was going to bust somebody's ass
another
coming down.
stud athlete right there, Colton.
Yeah, him and Jamar.
Made my job pretty easy.
Really good
So
offensive
good.
tackle.
So good.
Yeah, they were just. Other than you two, we had a really young offensive line who were all
That's
really
true.
ended
we
up
had
really
the least
good.
amount of starts, I think. Then was it any team in the country?
Yeah,
That
so.
offensive line, I had 0.
Yep.
Devin Mundy had 0. Jamar Clark had 0. Colton had a year, and you had.
In which even that year before, he didn't start every game because it was him and Jake Campbell kind of back and forth. And then you had some because Cliff got hurt.
What did we have, like 15 total
even.
starts out of 5 dudes?
Yeah.
And so we were green.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But we made plays, and we had a good mindset thanks to Ellerby and Vidal. But those guys created a mindset to just go out there and be dudes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember Ellerby would call you out. And I remember he finally pissed me off enough where he called me out. And I remember we were blocking Dexter Blackman.
Mm-hmm.
It was me and you. And I was like, I'm going to do my best to destroy this guy. Yeah. And we did. Now, the guy was in like a 2-eye. So Alan's going to stay on him. I think the linebacker was probably playing backside A that we were working to.
Yeah.
And I remember I didn't care.
Yeah.
I was trying to prove to Elby that I wasn't just this piece of shit. And the linebacker's there. And I remember we just absolutely killed the guy.
Yeah.
And he would have on-screen notes in the meetings. And I remember it said, spewing venom. You remember that? Yeah. It said spewing venom. And before the play, I was like, oh, dude, he finally respects me. He's pumped. He's spewing venom. And he was just not. He was so pissed off that I just didn't do my assignment. Because
we tried to murk this guy just to make a point.
And the linebacker we didn't even care. Yeah. And we took care of this guy.
Yeah.
Poor Dexter. I mean, it was the first time that we probably both together in sync we were about this high off the ground and we just drove. Yeah. And it was awesome. Yeah. But he was spewing venom. But Ellerby had us he gave us a mindset to just go out there and just try to be dudes.
Mess somebody up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. And so did Walt Bell. I love Walt Bell for that. And he kind of believed in us.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So that was Tennessee.
Yeah.
It was super hot. It was terrible. We had a chance. And we ended up not winning. Miami, we go down there. I think we played pretty good. I think I had a decent year.
To me, the most memorable thing about Miami was the GOAT. It was the GOAT play.
I didn't even know what happened until the next Tuesday.
Of course, whenever we were on non-top 10 for the next 10 months.
Yeah, we were. Well, me and Alan, this was offense. There wasn't many of us. There was like 7 of us the whole year. Yeah. And it went down to about 5 or 6. But I remember after a drive, we would come straight and sit down. Because, we're just dead. And
there was no.
And how fast we ran the ball. And we ran the ball.
Yeah.
And it was like pound it as fast as you we would just go and go and go and go, and we would just be dead.
That was a pretty fast tempo offense too.
Yeah, I remember
we
would
very
do
similar
Thursdays. We get the play off in 12 seconds from the whistle, and that was our goal. It's 12 seconds is too long. Miami, my favorite thing about Miami. You mule kicked a guy.
I did,
which was cool. And I remember Denzel Perryman. He still plays in the NFL. Stud linebacker. He was like Ray Lewis.
Yeah.
I just remember we call, was it
Yeah,
Philly, or what was the pin and
phenomenal.
pull? What was the pin and pull play called? You were pinning and I was pulling because we had like a shade or something.
Yeah.
And I went around, and I mean, I'm this close to him, and I cut him so hard. And he's like, "Man, y'all cut the shit out of me!" Like, it was just so funny. I was like, "Man, I feel good about that."
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I blocked him again.
They had a gigantic defensive tackle that game. He was probably 6'7" or 6'8".
Yeah.
I felt
was
like.
it Chicolo or whatever?
Yeah, you remember him.
He's the guy you mule kicked.
Yeah, yeah. Well, later on in the game, I've been mouthing at him because it was a long game. He's a big dude. He was a good ball player.
Yeah.
Right.
And towards the end of the game, we're losing, whatever. I just push him in the back after the play's over. Then I turn around and go back. He pushes me in the back. And I turn around and I start going, like that. And all of a sudden, I notice my fingers up in the air pointing at him. And I'm like, holy crap. That's a big dude.
He's a big dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think it was like, I can't remember what the play was, but I think there was like a pile and you got up and you literally just took your cleat and mule kicked whoever was behind you. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you mule kicked them so hard. So Miami, so we beat Montana State 37-10. We lose to Tennessee 19-34, but they scored late.
Yeah.
We were in that game.
Yeah.
Miami beats us 41-20. It got out of hand like the end of the second half, or end of the first half. I think we were down 2 or 3 possessions.
Yep.
Utah State.
Yeah.
Best
big
game of my life.
Biggest non-conference win that we have while we're playing the 5 years.
Maybe since.
Well, Kansas State this
Kansas
last
State,
year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, short of that, I mean,
Utah State
win.
might have been one of the best teams we played.
They were good.
They
That
were
senior
good,
year?
yes.
Yeah.
We just played well. If we played them 10 more times, we might not beat them.
Yeah.
I had another game I had to get really creative. I knew they were going to try to make hard counts on defense.
there you go. Yep.
And do you remember, Alan, when I went and talked to the ref before the game? I was like, I know y'all don't call this much, but these guys like to yell snap count.
Yeah.
And, my guys, they just, I don't want them to jump off sides because it's kind of cheap. I know y'all won't call it.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And they did it once,
Yeah.
and they called it.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it again. So that was what I contributed to that game.
Yeah.
But they ran a nasty defense, nasty 3-4 defense with lots of movement, lots of slants.
You don't know where anybody's coming from.
I feel like that's one of the
You don't
best
know who's
defenses
dropping,
that you can
who's
run as a
coming.
3-4.
Yes.
Like, that compensates for if you just have a couple guys that are dudes on
If you'll have
defensive
guys
line.
that play hard,
Yeah.
3-4 you can win.
Yeah,
And that's
if
what
I was
they
a
had.
defensive coordinator, I'd run a 3-4 as
Um,
long as I had like at least one
yeah.
dude. If you have a good nose tackle, you can run a 3-4 and kill people.
Yes. And you can run a traditional 3-4 without even slanting.
Yeah.
But they were really good. So that game, Michael Gordon was hurt.
Yeah.
You were hurt.
Yeah.
So Johnston White, this is his coming out party. He has like 100
Silky.
yards. Like, I think that's the first time they've given up 100 yards to a rusher in years.
Silky was good.
Silky was good.
Silky was
He was
another
so
guy that had
smooth.
like that smooth, that flow. There were just some guys that had that, and I think that's just something that like you're born with. I don't know if that's something
Freddie
you
was
can
that
learn.
guy, just savvy, just
Yeah.
smooth, just made plays.
Yeah, Silky was like, if you gave him the ball, he was good for at least 5. He didn't have like breakaway speed.
He
but
wasn't going to
also
hit an 80-yard touchdown. But
but he also
get
wasn't
you.
going to get tackled for loss.
No, sir.
Yeah.
And we had a good game that game as an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
We ran the ball hard. I remember we were down on the goal line, ran that 44 power, 44 giant power, whatever we called it.
Yeah.
And we scored. I remember Devin had an amazing block.
Yeah.
But like, it was an awesome game. And then it gets down to the end of the game. I think it's 14-14. And we're driving to win the game.
Yeah.
And we have a mishap with the ball in the backfield. And then we're about to lose. And then we block the game-winning field goal.
Yep.
And then we go to overtime. And you remember that nasty blitz they were bringing where they would run like bear? But they would all kind of slant out. And the linebacker on this side would kind of come around in the A-gap. And you had your assignment. I had my assignment. They just out-schemed us there.
Yeah.
And I remember like I just reached and just like touched them.
Yeah.
I mean, I just touched them like that. And it kind of deflected them just a hair. But that was I think it was the throw to Dijon Pascal.
Okay.
The game-winning throw.
Yep.
And then we had the stop on defense. But that was probably the best
That was a good win.
win.
Yeah. So I know this is senior year, slightly off topic. One of the things, and I don't know if y'all did this every week, but Colton Jackson is a super creative guy. He's like an artist. He sketch, and he's hilarious. And I remember he would come up with these stories of you guys, like what you would do after football. And I hope you remember the story about Devin Mundy. and how Devin Mundy, Double D's, he's going to open up Double D's strip club. And like this whole elaborate life story.
It sounds so real.
Yeah.
And you know, like Devin Mundy's a bouncer now in Nashville.
Yeah.
Like he's on his way to fulfilling that prophecy.
Yeah. Colton,
Colton
was a funny dude. And like, this is...
I would love to get like that group together to do one with them.
It
would be a funny group.
Evolution of our group. So Devin and Jamar and Colton would have came in with mouths on.
That whole,
So that was Grimes'
and Bryce.
year. Yeah, Bryce.
Yep.
And so that was kind of Grimes' year. The way we held meetings with Grimes was very military-esque.
Yeah.
We didn't talk.
You had to assign
do.
seating.
You know, we're also in an offensive lineman room. We're nasty humans.
Yeah.
We're disgusting.
Yeah, fart a lot.
We did until that year.
Yeah.
Jay,
not
Coach
allow it or
Grimes
something?
would not allow it.
JB.
So what would he do if y'all would fart? Like
We would be punished.
be up downs or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he would not play. So we would get that. That was with Cheese and Steve too. Those are my roommates. Those are two of my
man.
favorite guys ever. Two
They're
fun
so
dudes.
funny.
It was like, I don't know what like tandem they were.
Aaron.
Yeah, but they were so cool. I love those two dudes,
Yeah.
Cheese and Aaron Williams, Cheese, and Stephen Hunga.
Yeah.
But
What a good group of guys.
dude, such a good group of dudes. And then like Cliff's like kind of like Alan, like kind of quiet.
You remember how Cliff would have exorcism style vomiting episodes? So Cliff definitely was a play hard, work hard kind of guy.
NFL looking dude too.
Yeah, so much hair. One of the hairiest human beings, other than Bryce Giddens, who we played with. Hiller was the hairiest for sure. But anyway, so Cliff would go out and just get like, anytime we had a break, he'd go and just get hammered. But when we would come back and we would do practice, I mean, Cliff would be like on all fours, like exorcism style, throwing up, demons watching them fly out of his mouth, and just would die every time we had a break. One time in fall camp, he has a full body cramp. They bring like 4 people carrying him in, you know, baptizing him in the cold tub, hooking up IVs, like 2-3 IVs in him to keep him alive. Yeah, I mean, Cliff was, but he would rally.
Oh, yeah.
He
would rally back.
God, he was good.
Yeah.
He'd be suffering, but he'd never let it.
He was tough.
Affect him. Yeah.
He was a tough Texas SOB.
Yeah, he was.
That is who he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that group, like that year, it was very weird because Hiller would let us do whatever. Hiller would crap his pants in the locker in the bang meetings.
Yeah.
And like it'd be disgusting, and then you get Grimes in there who wouldn't even let us talk.
I couldn't even fiddle with my beard.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be like, quit playing with your beard. Like, you get like real mad at me.
Yeah.
Taking notes on something.
Yeah. And then like Bedell was awesome. Like he actually like not trying to be gross, but like flatulence, he preferred it.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you sit there and you smell it.
Yeah. Everybody smell that brand and recognize it.
You ain't moving. And then like, but that guy, you talking about NFL type dude.
Yeah.
You remember the day he put his hat on backwards, put his sunglasses on, got in a left tackle stance.
Dude, you could see it.
And went out for a screen. And I mean, my
Coach
God.
Bedell?
Yeah.
Yes. It was
Coach
It was
Bedell.
one of those heavy dummies that had like all the sand at the bottom.
Yeah.
That like you hit and the top would go down.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, runs, forearm cuts it.
Yeah.
The bottom flies out like 10 yards. And I'm like, none of us can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had like a 7 or 8 year NFL career.
Yes,
Yeah,
Coach, none of us move
he
like
was-
that, Coach.
Yeah.
Coach Bedell was a stud, just a studly looking guy still.
Freak.
Yeah,
Yes.
when he comes there, absolutely.
And I remember like talking about like by the time Harson got there, and me and Alan figured it out too. Like we knew we were stepping stone. We literally like when he got there.
It's like the first week.
Yeah, when we got there,
Yeah.
we were like, hey,
I do too.
when you leave, we want all of your stuff.
He looked at us like, you
What?
stupid people.
And I've been like, and
Yeah,
we would
we're
remind
not
him.
going anywhere. What do you mean?
And we would like remind him.
Oh, yeah, you
I
are.
still have the laptop case that he gave me. I was
I
like,
still got a jacket or two.
yeah.
Dude, you see this poster? Whenever Coach Riddle left, I was like, hey, dude, I'm stealing this poster. He's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm not here anymore.
Yeah, but when we let Bedell know from the jump, hey, we want that stuff. Can we have it? And he's like, I don't. You know, it wasn't a thing. We reminded him of it here and there. And then at the end, they're like, hey, can we have that stuff? He's like, just come to the house and get it. I don't care. He's like, I put it all in a bag. And we did. And me and Alan took it all, and we like split it in half.
Yep.
And we kept everything.
Yeah. Oh man, dude, you just kind of learned to be a vulture by the end.
Yeah, we were vultures.
Yeah.
And then Ellerby comes, and he's the mindset guy, and I'm so glad he came because he changed me forever. Like kind of just as a mindset. Like I went into coaching right after football, and it helped me so much just being with him.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think for me, like those last 2 years, you know, all the characteristics and character traits, you know, I think leadership lasts a lifetime.
mm-hmm.
And that's something that I really grew in those last 2 years, was learning how to lead people. And you think about the variety of guys that we played with. I mean, from everywhere you could imagine, of every background. I mean, just all sorts of differences, but yet we would always come together in pursuit of this common goal.
Mm-hmm.
Really interesting to study the melding of teams, how you lead people, how you motivate people. Learned a lot of that stuff during those years, and especially for me, those last 2. So back to, we're past non-conference, so I hop back in now. I'm out those 3 games: Miami, Tennessee, Utah State. So who do we have next?
First game was Monroe.
Yeah.
And we played
I
well.
had a pretty good catch that game.
Yeah. And like they played like a 3-3-5, which for me is the hardest to kind of diagnose. Yeah. And it's the hardest to block because the angles are hard. You got linebackers that are stacked. It's so, and you got 6 guys.
A lot of movement.
Yes.
Just what you,
and you got 6 guys in the box. So even with the tight end, it's weird because then they can attach a 7th. Yeah. It's really weird. And like one play I remember from that game is they got in a 4-2. Like one play. And I was like, Alan. And it was inside zone to the right. And we destroyed the D tackle, destroyed the linebacker, and Michael Gordon took it like 80 yards to the touchdown. Yeah. To the house. And it was awesome. But we won that game 28-14.
Okay.
So we're 3-2. Next we travel down to Atlanta and play Georgia State.
Mm-hmm. Well.
Yeah.
Touchdown.
Yeah, touchdown.
First
I remember
touchdown.
that. I remember running to you because I was like, Kenny got a touchdown.
Yeah.
Because Kenny's been just a 6th old lineman having to block
basically
against D Ford and all these dudes. But finally got a shout out.
Did we hang a 50 burger on them?
We did 52-10. Yeah. We destroyed those guys. That was a game. I played okay, but that's a game I had to get real creative because I'm playing a zero frog stance nose, my enemy.
Yeah. If you got a dude you're going against, that like Toledo played that frog stance sort of thing. If you got a dude defensive lineman, that's tough.
Yeah, because the kind of the only way I would.
It's tough to move them. Like they don't get a lot of penetration.
You're not getting separation at all.
Yeah.
And so like that was like for me, I'd rather I don't want to say Carruthers. I'd rather play another guy than a leapfrog guy because I could usually like kind of.
Well, you can like use their momentum. You know, kind of like a jiu-jitsu style.
Sometimes be a little more athletic than them and move around and be a little more.
You get your hands on a little better. Whenever they're playing that way, they've got their hands.
They come at you fully extended. And then it's just.
So that's a game I had to get real creative. Like we'd run pass plays and I'd yell screen or whatever. And we'd run sweeps and I'd yell reverse.
Yeah. What we got next?
We beat the crap out of them. And then we played Lafayette. And we lost 40-55. So this would have been the first game where the war of attrition began.
Yeah.
And love Coach Anderson. So thankful for him and his group. When we went for it on our own 9 on a fake punt, that hurt.
Yeah.
But we lost 40-55. We made a late rally, but we didn't win that one. Then the next week we go up to Idaho.
Yeah,
it was in the Kibbe Dome. And was it Ellerby that talked about Kibbe Magic?
Yeah, and it's real.
It's very real. Yeah. Kibbe Magic is real.
What was Kibbe Magic?
Just, you know how we're just playing in like a World War II airplane hangar and it's just weird?
Yeah, it was weird. It was like really dead.
Yeah.
Super dead.
It's Kibbe Magic. And like just momentum shifts are weird. It's almost like you're playing in a,
it's almost like you're playing in a practice.
Yeah, and it almost feels like practice.
Yeah, it was.
There's maybe 4,000 people in the stands. It's like a high school game.
And it looks like a small town basketball game when you look in the bleachers.
Yes.
Yeah. It looks like you're going to the Corning and you're playing basketball.
Yeah.
I remember they had a beastly defensive tackle that game.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
And we played well. Yeah. We played well against them. We played well against every 4 front team.
Yeah.
What was after Idaho?
Next
was South Alabama. We beat the brakes off them.
We almost always beat
45
South.
to
We
10.
beat South Al every time we played them while we were there.
No, we almost lost Mount
It's
Zion.
like 17-16. Super close.
They've lost a few times since then in
Yeah,
games they should have won.
Yep.
We beat the crap out of South Alabama. Next game is Appalachian State.
Yeah.
Now, thankfully, we were better than South Alabama across the board, so our war of attrition wasn't that big a deal. And I know we were better than them.
Yeah.
App State, pretty good team.
Yeah, but we should have beat them.
We should've.
I did not have a great game that game.
I played okay.
Yeah.
Well, we had control of the game early.
Yeah.
And then I don't know at what point it's like, oh, we're losing.
Yeah.
That's weird. Like we were and our defense couldn't get a stop. I mean, they were just obliterated with injuries.
Yeah, they were. They were really, they lost a lot.
And we lost
by then.
32-37 that game.
Yeah. We should have won that game.
Next game, we should have won.
The revenge of John Thompson.
And Bedell.
Was Bedell at Texas State too?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
wow.
we lost 27-45. That may have been the worst game I ever played.
It was a bad beat.
That was bad.
They had that one linebacker, Mayo.
Yeah.
Broke my neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also had a high ankle sprain that game. It was awful.
Texas State just had our number that game, man.
Yeah, and they would run like nasty fronts. They would run bear.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he knew what to do.
Yeah, he did.
He knew us.
Yeah. Coach Thompson is so he went 2-0 while he's head coach at A-State, interim head coach.
And what a guy. And before Anderson got there, we didn't know Anderson, we didn't know anything. We all wanted him to be the guy.
Yeah.
We loved him and we trusted him and he trusted us, and it was just a good cohesiveness there.
Yeah, I remember whenever he said he got passed over again for that head coaching job, talking to him, and he's just like, "Man, I'm done here," and that's totally understandable.
Rightfully so, because he'd earned it.
Yeah, I think so. But
just the way he handled us, he was 2-0 in bowl games.
Yeah,
but decimated staff
with no staff.
Yeah, no staff. Golly, man,
injuries and just
What year was it that we went to it was at the bowl game, and the morning after there was 2 plane rides home. One was at like 10 a.m., one was at like 6 a.m. So most of us get on the 10 a.m. flight, and we go down in the lobby, and there's not a coach left on the staff.
It was the Malzahn year.
That's right, and we're all just standing around wondering where to go, and all of a sudden you see Carter.
That one guy,
Carter
yeah.
Ford?
Ford, yes, Carter
yeah,
Ford.
He's my insurance agent now, dude.
Yeah. Well, the insurance agent is the only guy who was an adult
that was
in the building. Besides, we're all 20 years old. And we go down there because our plane leaves at 10, so we're down there at 9?
Yeah.
And we're like, okay. There's not a coach.
Yeah.
There's not. No. It was the Harsin year because they all went up to Boise.
Yeah,
the next day.
All the coaches had gone on to their future jobs, whether it was at Boise or whatever they'd gone to. They're out after the bowl game.
And they sure left us. Yeah. And we're all in the hotel. And, after about 30 minutes of us all sitting down there, and it's probably 70 of us.
Yeah.
We're like, it was probably me and Alan because we were decently level. We're like, there's nobody here.
Yeah. That's why I do think it's really good now that college players can transfer, because coaches sure could transfer forever.
That's true.
There's no penalty. That's really wild to think about. If I'm an engineering student, I could transfer colleges just based on who's giving me the best scholarship, or is this a better engineering school? Like, no issue at all if I'm a student. But if I play sports and I want to get a scholarship, I can't transfer without the penalty of sitting out, which is what happened to Dyer. Dyer tried to do that waiver, didn't get the waiver, and then I don't know after that if he just kind of like, screw it. But, that just really was really unfair that you couldn't, because coaches could leave and bounce, no issue, but players couldn't. Mm-hmm. That's good that they can now. And I think it's also good that for these guys that can make some money to make some money, because it's weird that, like, we couldn't even, if somebody wanted to learn offensive line and, like, their dad was willing to pay you $50 an hour.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just do anything for any kind of, and it wasn't just money. Wasn't there rules like you couldn't take rides?
Yeah. You couldn't even have your coach give you a ride to the airport.
Yeah.
That was illegal.
Yeah.
And some of the guys we played with, dude, like Frankie Jackson came from nothing.
Yeah.
Dude, like his mom's getting the electric cut off. That's a guy that really, it could have made a difference just having a little bit.
Just, $300 a month would have been.
Yeah. And now they get paid like $800 a month, which you just need something to live on. Not everybody's going to make millions or whatever, and you'll have some that do, but you do, the scholarship covers everything. But then, like, man, you got to figure out a way to buy toilet paper.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure out a way to survive.
Yeah, because you're not allowed to get a job.
You got a girl you like, how you going to take her out to dinner? You can't.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go to the calf.
And then that's one thing that people don't bring up is there's no luxuries outside of the game when you're playing the game.
Yeah.
Like you're not taking your girl out to eat. You don't have time. You don't have the energy, and you don't have the money.
Yeah. That would be an interesting segment. Just talk about the daily schedule of not only a fall camp, but just a regular season.
Oh, fall
schedule.
camp.
I mean,
Fall
you're
camp's
you're at the facility at 6 a.m.
Yeah, let's go through a fall camp schedule.
Yeah, there till 9 or 10. Yeah, so fall camp, for those of you that don't know, it starts pretty much first couple days in August, goes all the way up until pretty much the first game. And you are doing football from roughly 6 a.m. till about 9 or 10 at night every single day. You're practicing
21 straight days.
Yeah, it's awful, man. I mean, it makes and breaks people for sure.
Yeah, I remember that freshman year. They would talk about fall camp's coming, and it'd be like, okay,
whatever.
Yeah,
no, it's very real. And it sucks because you're the only people on campus too.
Yeah. There is no fun. There's no like time to just take a break. You're always just physically and mentally exhausted and spent. Yeah, and you hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get up, you go work out, or the worst is when you work out in the middle of the day. Yeah, you get up, you go to meetings. After you had to get taped, you go to meetings, you go to practice, you go to lunch, you come back, you go to meetings, you go work out, go back to practice again.
Yeah,
you go to dinner, you come back, you would do meetings until 9 or 10, and then say, hey, go to your room now.
Yeah.
And we're going to come check to see if you're at home.
Yeah, 10:30 lights out. Come knock on your door. They'll open up the door. Go to sleep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Come wake you up to tell you to go to sleep.
Man, that's intense for a 19-year-old.
Yeah, you really, time management is another thing I definitely learned from college sports. Like, I don't think that I would have passed engineering had I not been in college football, because I think I would have just screwed around.
Yeah.
That really, it's like the more that you're forced to do, the more that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You have to.
I think that the normal student really is at a disadvantage compared to a college athlete. It doesn't seem like it, but I think that you really are, because you also have a lot of stuff in place to where, coaches are checking on you to make sure you're going to class or you're getting punished if you don't show up, which, I mean, just literally being there helps a lot.
You're held accountable for everything you do, which is great.
Nobody ever, actually, I never got class checked because the coaches didn't even know where the engineering building was. Because I was the only one.
I don't think I ever got class checked either. I think.
Yeah,
I did.
And
I got caught once.
You got caught once. Did they punish you?
Harson did, yeah.
Harson's year.
Wait, you skipped Harson's year?
Wow.
I did.
We were seniors.
Yeah. It's ballsy, man.
We were seniors.
Richard.
Class.
Yeah. That's your senior year in class.
I had an A in the class.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go.
What a move.
Yeah.
That's
So they got me. So then after a game, it was a night game. So then after the game, you had to spend 4 hours at the facility doing homework.
Oh. Well, that's not that bad. That's not like a physical punishment, just mental.
Well, it took away my Saturday night.
Yeah, it's true.
Which you didn't have.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it was the fall break. It was crazy when you'd go to the spring semester, and it's like, man, I have like a lot of time.
Yeah.
I mean, not compared to the normal person, but it's like, hey, I get off
That's
work at like 5.
I feel like 3 hours to do something.
Yeah, and on Saturday and Sunday, I don't have to go anywhere. Yeah, this is cool. That's a spring ball. But spring ball is like a miniature version of fall camp, but it's not as hot.
It's not as bad.
It's not as bad.
It's not as bad.
Because
you have class.
Because we have to go to school.
Yeah. If it wasn't for that, the times that football is the hardest is when you don't have school, because they take all the time.
Yeah, they own you.
Yeah, they do. They definitely own you.
Yeah, fall camp's tough.
Yeah.
Another part that was tough is bowl practice season. It's a lot like fall camp.
Except it was brutally cold.
But it was
and all the coaches are gone. Yeah. Everybody leaves.
Everybody's
it's like the whole time you're like, what's going to happen next year? Who's going to be
a lot of stress and anxiety.
A lot of stress and just worrying about what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And the coaches that are even there, they're trying to find a job, because if they got left behind, they're freaking out because they don't know where they're going to go.
A lot of people checked out. And
a lot of people check out in those bowl games. Mm-hmm. I think that really hurt us, that NIU game, because that was the first. After that game, we at least had experience with it.
Yes.
And kind of get used to.
How many coaches did we have on the staff? Was it 5?
We did not have many that NIU.
It was Coach Gunn was head coach.
Yep.
We had Coach Batoon.
Yep. We had Hillard.
He
wore like a glittery shirt in like the last
I'm not
meeting.
surprised.
Yeah. I don't remember what it
Hiller.
said, but yeah, God, he's funny.
Then there was Batoon,
Yep.
Hiller, Coach Gunn, maybe a couple GAs.
Yeah, probably a couple GAs. Yeah. Not many. I mean, not many.
One year they had to call in a high school coach out of somewhere. I don't remember.
Kenny Ingram.
Yeah.
And he got a job.
Yeah,
He's
he got a
actually
job.
working for Coach Malzahn right now, I believe.
Just called them out of the blue to come coaches for a bowl game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, I mean, that
Wow.
skinny those bowl game years. So, yeah, that's the football career. So let's, because we've been on here for a minute. So let's talk about post football now.
Okay.
Greve, let's start with you, man. I mean, you're living in freaking South Korea, so
Yeah, I am. So my story's kind of interesting. It was very regular for a while. I was a education major.
you got jacked.
I didn't get jacked.
You
I lost
made the
weight.
transformation.
Well, I actually got really fat a year into post career.
Yeah.
I remember when we were done with football, I was like, I'm never working out again.
Yeah.
I don't care if I get fat. I don't care about anything.
Yeah.
I'm so done with this.
Yeah.
And I remember our last workout. It was down in Mobile, and I was like, "It's the last time I'm ever working out
We were talking about it.
in my
Yeah.
life."
Yeah.
Anyway, so I graduate. We're all getting our masters at that time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thankfully, Mahajer and them took care of us.
Yeah.
Anderson
Yeah,
took
big
care
shout
of
out.
Thank you, Terry
so
Mahajer.
much.
Thank you so much.
Shout
Because
out.
I wouldn't have that master's degree because I wouldn't have been able to.
And Coach Z, for sure, would not have
Would not
even
have been-
started.
I think I paid for one class. It was in the summer, so it was like after we were done.
Yeah.
It was like one class. It was like the
I finished
internship.
mine in the spring, so I wouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, I had to take mine because it was an internship.
Yeah, that sucks.
The summer,
Still,
but
in the
still,
grand scheme of things, not bad.
I mean, it was 10% of the degree I paid for. Who
Yeah.
cares?
Sure.
But anyway, so I graduate, and then we played that last year, and then I finished my master's, and I start working at Valley View as a teacher.
Yep.
I worked there for 4.5 years up until February of 2020.
Yep.
And then I actually got my dream job, which is, as an educator, working for the Department of Defense education activity. So I work overseas at military bases. And to a lot of people, they think it's confusing, like, oh, you go teach English. It's like, no, I'm teaching American students on military bases. So it'll be dependents.
Do they have like any sports or anything? Like, do you coach?
Yeah, well, I was actually going to coach this past year, but COVID, they canceled all sports basically.
Yeah.
But they do have, and it's really cool because where I'm at in Korea, Japan's a 2-hour flight away, and
Nice.
there's all these different schools in Korea. And so what they'll do is, I haven't got to coach yet.
Yeah.
But I did coach at Valley View. But they'll go to like Japan and play on
Oh,
Friday night.
that would be cool.
Yeah. And so I'm excited for when that opens up. We'll be able to do stuff like that. But yeah, I'm going to coach there. I coached at Valley View. We had a lot of success.
Yeah.
During my tenure there. I mean, we went from 2-8 my first year there. I was coaching offensive line. Then I actually moved to defensive line. And I loved it because I had the most ragtag bunch. Kind of it reminded me of us because, we played a 3-4 and, my third year we were playing a 3-4. And I mean, we had guys that were 5'10", 170 pounds.
Yeah.
And kind of that mindset that Ellerby had, I'm so thankful for that guy. Kind of transferred to me after I was done. And I kind of transferred to those guys. I was like, just ball out and just play as hard as you can. And they did. And they became very successful. We went from 2-8 year one to 10-0 the fourth year.
Yeah, in high school you can really be small, but if you're just like super aggressive, play fast and
just
hard, you can be successful.
Yeah, and so that's like the biggest thing I probably learned from playing college football. 2 things. One was that mindset of just working.
Yeah.
Learning how to work. Because I didn't really learn how to work those first 3 or 4 years, probably those first 3 years of college. Had kind of a crappy mindset. I wasn't playing a lot, so it was easy to kind of step back and just like almost make it like where it's like, oh, I don't really care.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes it like, oh, that's okay because I don't care.
Yeah.
Finally start caring. Bedell, thank you for that because he kind of helped me.
Kind of got you
again.
replugged in.
Yeah, he helped me. He kind of replugged me, kind of revamped me. Ellerby really taught me a lot about just going.
It's tough to stay plugged in when you're not playing.
It is very hard.
Yeah.
Very hard. And that Malzahn year it was a tough year.
Yeah.
It's kind of just crushed me.
Yeah, whenever T-Pain, Eric Allen got hurt, Bryce Gidden goes in.
And that was
that was the birth of Bryce Gidden.
And he was the best player on our side of the field, besides Applin, and JD. It was like JD, Applin, and Bryce Giddens is probably the third best player on
He was really good. I mean, now you had we
had Stock. Yeah. Well, okay, I'll say this. Offensive line, he was probably the best offensive lineman. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
We did have some dudes at receiver that year, I forgot. And David Oku at running back, stud.
Yeah, we had some skilled dudes.
Yeah. But as far as offensive lineman, he was a true freshman coming in.
Yeah. That's so rare at offensive line.
That doesn't happen. We never had a true freshman play.
I think that's the hardest position to come in as a true freshman.
Absolutely. And he had the cerebral and the physical aspect down before he got there.
Yeah.
So
just came in as a stud.
And so I didn't play much. I didn't play at all hardly that Malzahn year. Maybe some punt and maybe field goal.
Yeah.
Played some field goal.
God, you loved punt. I remember that.
I loved it.
Because we were on punt together. Because that was Malzahn's year. I had a few times where I got to start and play at tight end, but I really got to play a lot on special teams.
Yes.
That was the first year when I got to start on kickoff return stuff. And
that was one thing that kind of broke me, and kind of a sappy story. But I remember I was going into Oregon, starting on punt, and then a day before the game, I was like, "No, take him out. Put Kedrick in." And Kedrick was so mad because he didn't want to play it. And I was
Kedrick hated it.
I was the guy that
punt
was
shield sucked. That's the worst.
It was the
job
worst job
in football.
I was so excited. I was like,
I know you loved it. You were
and
a freak.
I was like, Ked, dude, just tell him you don't want to do it. And I was like, another thing I do that with Bryce. I'm like, Bryce, man, if your helmet comes off, bro, just take it off because you have to come out. You have to come out if your helmet comes off. His helmet would come off occasionally.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, if you're ever tired, man, just.
I think it's just the way his neck was.
Well, he didn't have
it was just. It went trap to head,
shoulders to head.
Yeah. So it just was a natural physical reaction to push the helmet off.
It just came right off.
Yeah.
And so, but I remember I would tell him, dude, if you're tired, man, just unbuckle the strap and just let that thing come off. I will beat you. I got you, dog. Yeah. And it came off a few times, and I'm glad, But I guess back to the story. Yeah. But so. Malzahn, that kind of crushed me a little bit. But then I started playing a lot more with Harsin, not on offense really, but more special teams. And then finally my senior year play. But Ellerby that senior year really gave me the mindset that I kind of gave to those guys I coached.
Yeah, helped you a lot in your career.
Absolutely, and in just my life, kind of having a mindset just you're either going to do it or you're not.
Yeah, you got to coach me up because I tell you what I've really developed post football is finish line syndrome. I will sign up for a triathlon. I will get hyped up. I'll drop, this last one, I dropped close to 40 pounds to get ready for this race. And then I did the race, came in second my age group, and I haven't done hardly anything since. And when I was in college, dude, I mean, y'all can attest, I worked out all the time. I would stay after. I'd do jump rope every day. I read this Tony Gonzalez book, so I'd do 1,000 jump ropes every day, which built the calves.
Yeah, you did have some calves.
But anyway, I had no problem working out. I didn't drink soda for years. The first beer I had was with you guys.
Yeah, at Mobile.
At Mobile before the bowl game. I had a beer. It was no problem.
Apple Orchard, wasn't it?
Angry Orchard. Yeah. And I mean, I had no problem with diet, with workout, and I've really struggled since being done with football to consistently do it. I can hype myself up for an event, for a thing, but it's not like back then where it was just it was a lifestyle. Yeah. I've not really cracked that code yet.
I'm kind of the opposite. I didn't really have a good mindset until afterwards.
Yeah. I know. It's just, that's fascinating to me that you've, me and you have almost inverted.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was, for me, I think it was almost a little bit of embarrassment. Be like, well, dang, I'm not playing, Yeah. Everybody else is playing, but I'm not really playing that much. I kind of was in a weird situation. Tom's a 6th year. That was a big hit, but I'm glad because he was so good.
Yeah.
It's oh, he's coming back for 6 years. This is my 2nd year. This is the year I'm going to try to start playing,
Yeah.
And so he's back, and then Bryce gets there, and it's man, Bryce is really good.
Yeah.
And there's no way I should ever play above that guy. And
I think we all we all had guys behind us. I had Grizz. There's if we would have kept playing it, it probably would have progressively gone downhill.
South, yeah.
Yeah.
It started south for me at the jump. And so, kind of that, almost that embarrassment or just that oh, well, if I just don't care, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
And then finally my senior year I get to play. But, after that's when I kind of developed that mindset. And that's kind of what football did for me was one, it helped me with that mindset. Two, it kind of just made me more creative. Just the ability to problem solve now is so much better than it used to be. And then when crap hits the fan, I'm sure we all are able to do this, but we're able to find a solution to it.
Well, I think I tell you one thing from playing on those fast-paced offenses is, dude, you learn how to think on your feet.
Absolutely.
I mean, just when you're having to know a play within 5 seconds, what you have to do, like when I'm at work, I'm just super quick to think of a solution to something. You know, it's just that's an ability that forces you into by fire.
Mm-hmm.
This ability to improvise and think extremely quickly for solutions.
Mm-hmm.
So, Alan, what about you, man?
About it.
Well, I mean, you're a farmer.
I am, yeah. So after college, I went to work for a poultry company here in Batesville.
Yep.
Worked there for 3 years. Built a chicken farm. For y'all of you out there that don't know what I'm talking about, it's not like a couple of chickens in my backyard. I have.
Yeah, he's got 8 chicken houses. We're talking about
They're
hundreds of
43
thousands
wide,
of chickens.
600 foot long. Yeah. Got some cattle. I just strictly farm now. Pretty well enjoying that. That's kind of what I wanted to do when I was in college. And
you definitely have, like, you had a goal in mind that you started with, and you are now at that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Which is great, man.
I just have to keep it up and foster it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
great.
mean,
man.
that's what he said from the jump. It was, I'm going back to Cape City and I'm going to
Be a farmer.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Yep.
I remember we would be at his house and be like, this is where I'm going to build my house.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what he did.
Sure enough, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man.
Wait, one,
Yeah. What do you got?
one more guy we need to talk about.
Okay.
William Boyd.
Yeah, you gotta get Boyd over here.
I know.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the
Came in as
few
a
people
kicker.
Yeah, so Boyd and me graduated from Cave City High School in 2010.
Yeah.
I played right tackle in high school. Boyd played right guard. He weighed like 175 pounds, okay?
Mean.
Yeah.
Mean dude, yeah.
Very mean.
He was our kicker in high school. I go to ASU. He says he wants to walk on as a kicker. He shows up the week that school is starting, so we've already gone through fall camp. You know?
Yeah.
He tries out as a kicker. He runs a 40. They see how fast he can
Ran
run.
like
they
a
say, no,
40.
you're going to...
Yeah. 4'6",
What a
4'7".
deceptive athlete.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm
Plays
telling you.
right guard in high school.
Comes on to
Tries out as
kick.
kicker. That's not going to work out, but they see how fast he can run. So they say, hey, you're going to play scout team wide receiver.
Yeah.
So he does that, works his butt off. I remember that first year, Coach Hiller, I believe it was looking for some of the brand new walk-on guys, which they bring in 20 or so a year probably.
Yep.
He said, hey, we need somebody to basically be a tackling dummy for the offensive line so that we can practice cutting a live person. So Boyd more or less has to stand there while these giant, to him, offensive linemen are running at him and
Boyd
cutting
was
his
real
legs
little
up.
bit.
Yeah, he just takes it this entire time.
Yeah.
Goes on to finish out the rest of the career there with us 5 years.
Gets a scholarship.
Gets a
I'll tell you
scholarship
what,
here,
Boyd-
3, I believe. Just
Yeah.
works his absolute
He's one of the
butt
guys I
off.
respected the most out of anybody we played with. You know, there's a few
Yeah.
guys that you're just like, I respect that guy.
Yeah.
You know, there's guys like Carruthers who you respect because he is a dominant, freakish force.
Yeah.
You know, same with Mario. But then, like, my favorite kind of guys are guys like Boyd, who it's like, man, he works so hard.
Well,
And
those
then-
walk-ons that earned a scholarship.
and Booker and Gurley.
Oh, all of
And they
them.
had everything
Yeah.
going against them. And if it would have been me and I wasn't on scholarship, I'm
Yeah.
out. I'm out.
Boy.
I'm going to quit that first fall camp whenever we
Yeah.
were talking, why are we here?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
those guys went through hell
Yeah.
just to be there. And then, like, I'm better because of guys like that.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, Boyd was punt blocker extraordinaire.
Yes,
I
he
mean, that was like his thing, dude. He loved punt return and blocking punts and was good at it. Was very good at it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys we could talk about that were walk-ons.
Cody Prater.
Brock Barnhill.
Brock
Another one.
Barnhill worked
Yeah.
hard. Dude, we had some guys
Yeah.
that worked so hard. And, like, I wish I would have worked half as hard as they did.
Yeah.
When I played. Because their motivation to me now.
Yeah, I think, and I'm sure that will set all those guys up really well in life. It's just that you certainly grow a lot. If you walked on and you stayed your whole time, boy, you're a dog.
You're a dog. And there's nothing better than that moment when the coach is like, hey, Booker Mace, you're on scholarship. And then you're just brothers with that
dude,
guy.
we celebrate
And everybody
so
just
hard.
freaks out because it's just like, you know how important it is because you've lived it. And now, like, they get to experience, but they've worked harder than you.
Yeah.
You know, so they deserve it.
Yeah, they earned it. I mean,
And
we did earn it in a way through what we did in high school, but also it's like, dude, I was 6'4", 260 in high school. It's like,
You should have.
yeah.
No, we were in, you know, a lot of us had an accumulative advantage. A lot of us had this advantages of where we were.
Yeah.
You know, maybe even who, you know, not me in this case, but maybe who your parents were, maybe who this, whatever. But those guys didn't. They had none of that.
They earned it.
But they earned it, and I love that. And they got it from themselves. There was nothing other than that.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, man, that was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
Really.
That's going to be a nice long podcast.
This will be a long one.
I'll listen to it on the plane.
But it's a good
one.
one. Yeah. There you go. Well, thank you all for joining us, and stay tuned for the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks.